Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here and Jack Bennett. All the lights are currently lit here on track, and it is go, go, go! Donoso with a crafty maneuver up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count out Danny Beresne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Foreman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to PSGL for round 9 of the E-Series Championship Season 4. And well, I mean, Josh, this is about where we've got to brace ourselves because the ERS is rather overpowered, and we are at one of the tracks which even on the F123 game, the DRS and ERS became overpowered.
Yes, and you can see here I've got the tape measure out to indicate how the slipstream would work, right? So, Nathan, right, everyone at home, I'll just need you to imagine, right? This is the entire Vegas straight behind us. Nathan gave him permission to waffle, so blame him for this one. Entire Vegas straight, right? If you're roughly around this far up the straight, anyone who's still by the actual tape measure will still pick up the slipstream. The DRS opens around here, so you can theoretically carry the pace through all the way down, and then when it comes all the way over to the breaking point, be about here, right? That's about there. You're going to be at least 2 wide, if not 3, if not 4, if not 5 wide, and hopefully your track won't bend and flex and try and flop over on itself. But that is going to be absolute carnage every single time for every single lap. And to be quite honest, I'm not sure whether I'm ready for it. I'm not sure whether you guys at home are ready for it as well, because the amount of talented drivers we've got on this grid. Throughout that first and second sector, you could argue, right, they might fall back a little bit. They might not be as comfortable following each other. But the drivers we have, they are comfortable. They are world-renowned. They are champions. And I feel like it's only fair to look at the grid because we can't do them justice just by explaining how talented they are because they are just legendary.
Yeah, it's a brilliant grid. I mean, the main man on there, Yonorotmi, is here again for his second appearance here in PSGL E Series alongside Declan Barrett in Red Bull. So that will be an interesting race to see what those two can do. Then Race Clutch have Reece Linton and Lillian Derbycourt. No Lenny Pinter today. Definitely a big surprise. I think he's been here pretty much all rounds bar only one or two. Then we have Fabrizio Donoso and we have Ian Halliday and Otis Lawrence here in Aston Martin. Otis will be at the back with the quali ban. Then we have Gabriel Quintino and Leo Lund in Vloche Academy, Julian Klaffenbuck and Tycho Hardy in R8G, and then we've got John Evans and Nicholas Longe in Ferrari, our championship leaders, of course, going into this round. Then we have Philip Presneder and Shimon Lekomsky in McLaren, Marcos Soriano and Angelo Dortenzio in TRT. TS have Nelson Alves and Ben Marples, and finally Williams, yet again with an all-Spanish lineup of Ruben Pedreño and Iker Bayonet. But, Josh, going into this round, the championship fight for both the main overall standings and the community standings is very intense, isn't it?
Intense is one way to put it. Also up for debate is on the other hand as well, because of course we can crown champions. If you guys have seen the social posts, I'm sure Oscar, Connor, they've been tooting the horn. You can crown a champion tonight. Is it really going to happen, though, Nathan?
No.
Probably not. Let's be quite honest. Ferrari, I do believe, would have to outscore Race Clutch by 30 points. Red Bull Sim Racing by like 52.
It's a lot.
It's not on. It's not feasible. Regardless of, the custom point rules, just given the nature of what Vegas is, you could realistically qualify P15 and end up leading the race by lap 3. Again, it will just be complete RNG. If any of you were fortunate enough to watch the Indy Endurance special event over on iRacing as well, you would realise that it is just going to very much feel like you're going round the bricks. You are going round the banking of Daytona for the entire race because of a lack of dirty air introduced into this year's game, which is a feature. It's not a bug. We've just got to make that very clear. We're not shitting on EA, but it is just a feature.
Yeah.
But most importantly, for a question for me about those community teams, which one's going to be able to take that step forward? Because someone will have to. It'll either be, I don't want to say Race Clutch is a community team, but in my eyes, because of Alpine getting dropped, they're not a community team, but because Alpine dropped them, they are technically a community team, but with the talent and the knowledge of a professional team, which is incredible.
Yeah,
it's incredible to see.
Yeah, the way they performed, you can definitely not really call them a community team. I mean, looking at the standings itself, it's very close, especially when you start to look at 4th and 5th downwards, of course. Ferrari still lead the way on 302. Race Clutch are in 2nd on 266, and I've got to say, definitely a dark horse this season are Race Clutch, and then we have Red Bull in 3rd, R8G 4th, and then Aston Martin only 1 point behind in 5th. And now this is where it starts to get close. So once you go past McLaren, you've got 3 community teams there. Vloche Academy, Tatum Racing Team, and Thomas Ing Sim Racing. Well, those 3 teams are in the fight to take £100 away. The best community team, who finishes the highest in the standings, will take £100 it will be given to them. So there's a 12 gap between VA and TRT, and a 23 gap between VA and TES. So, I know it's not the final round, but those 3 teams will be fighting very hard because they want to take that £100 away. They know for a fact they haven't got a chance at the top at the top 3. So they're going to try and fight hard for that 100 community team bonus.
Absolutely. They'll be going 2 for now because it might not seem like a lot, right? Those of you who are in the chat who have got full-time jobs, you go, okay, right, that's not too much. But let's not forget, a lot of these teams are run by younger members of the community. That's enough to be able to get a driver on a prenup and just try and start working towards growing yourself and continuing to push yourself slightly further forward. And also, a key note I do want to point out is the community teams, they're hot on the heels of the McLaren team. McLaren Shadow, let's not beat around the bush. They have entered Blakely into this, but if I'm not mistaken,
he's not
unless it was for one race I wasn't here, Blakely hasn't raced once in E-Series.
He hasn't.
And then that raises the question, how strained were they by, the Veloce group behind to try and enter drivers into this? Because if they put Blakely in, and Blakely's not going to be, look to start in any of the races here in E-Series, is there perhaps a potential issue there that you would think? Because, of course, Veloce Academy, very close, if not potentially the favourites to finish
Yeah.
above McLaren. And then very much it can be said in the same way for Williams, for example. They've not had the greatest
Yeah.
season. Let's not beat around the bush,
Definitely
right?
not.
Last time we was here, they were P2 in the championship, chasing down Ferrari, looked very, very strong. All of a sudden, new game comes along. It doesn't look as fluid. It doesn't look as somewhat embroiled in to how they want to run their operations. So perhaps a little bit of a learning reblock for them, but so that they can at least keep moving forward, especially heading into this qualifying session. Because I do believe, Nathan, we've got a couple of cars out.
We have. We'll move away to the main screen and we'll have a look at who's heading out onto track. But, just going back to McLaren, this game so far has been poor. I mean, I don't think they've really got the idea on how possibly the setups work, or maybe the drivers themselves just aren't in tune with the game, because so far McLaren haven't done anything notable on this F124 game, and that's whether it's in PSGL F1, over on WR as well, or here in E-Series. They've done nothing apart from Jack West's Austria win. I can't think of many things that they've done that's been brilliant. So definitely not the way they'd like to get this new game underway, but of course esports isn't even a consideration yet. No one knows if it's even going to happen yet. So they don't need to worry just yet. They can stay calm for now, but they've definitely got to start figuring out what their issues are and starting to fix them. Once you come to the end of the E-Series season, bit of a breakdown before we may return. We might not. But before we return, then they can look into things and figure out what the issues are, as we do see a few cars head out on track and look to start their laps. And Josh, the drivers have made it a little bit easier for us today by having, or most of them, by having some more colour-coordinated dots, which is a lot easier for us and the viewers.
Yeah, it is absolutely lovely. So we will be looking at giving a lifetime qualifying ban to Tycho Hardy, Nelson Alves, Ben Marples, and Julian Klappenbach for not following simple instructions and changing your icon. Disgusting behaviour, to be honest. Big C, sort them out, please. But no, ideally, this is going to make it a little bit easier for ourselves in the commentary box, you guys at home, to be able to tell what driver is where, who's fighting who's racing for who, and who's going to be looking to try and work together with one another to try and maximise potential results. Because an awful lot can go on, especially around a track like Vegas. We've already mentioned, we've alluded to it, but this could be absolutely bonkers. It could be bananas. We don't exactly know what's going to happen, how it's all going to plan out. Because we could very much have a Singapore from 2023 where everyone backs off, no one wants to take the lead, and everyone somewhat backs up the pace a little and tries to take it a little bit easy.
Of course, I mean, I think turn 12 on the final lap will be carnage, which is this spot here where Ruben is. This corner is going to be carnage. I mean, WRT won last season. We had 5 cars crash here because of all people wanted to back up. On this game, it's going to be even more harsh because you just look at here as we watch Ruben head down this straight. It's a very long straight. Of course, the DRS has been shortened since it was last game, but still, it's a very long run, and your car hits a very high top speed heading down into turn 14. So the final couple of laps, it's going to be rather interesting seeing what the drivers will choose to do as we just head out of the final chicane with Ruben in towards the final corner to begin, or to finish his first lap here on the circuit, and we'll see. I think he will complete the lap. He will. It will be a 1:33.192, and we'll have a little look here at Jono Opmeer as he heads his way down towards turn 14 as Reese Linton goes to the top on a set of the intermediate tyres. But Josh, I know, the chat knows that these laps mean absolutely niche.
No, zilch, 0, null, because they are on that intermediate compounds. Let's be quite honest. If you found a PSGL stream, I hope you understand the difference between an inter or a slick tire. These guys, they're going to be rolling around, just prepping, making sure their equipment's good, making sure whatever peripherals they've got, whether that's going to be Fanatec, Logitech, Thrustmaster, if you've got a skill issue. No, I'm just kidding. But overall, regardless of whatever it would be, making sure they're all in tune, making sure they're all working, making sure the brake pedals have got the perfect bite points. And all the buttons are calibrated, whether that's going to be, ERS deployment. Okay, enough of the jokes, right? Let's not talk about ERS deployment, especially after that new patch, considering now the drivers seemingly all have unlimited ERS to deploy around a lap. It's ridiculous, man. How have they come up with that?
Well, laziness, I think. They just doubled the usage. It's like, we can't make them do a whole lap. Yeah, just make it so they can go full overtake the whole lap. Boom, sorted. There we are. Issue ticked off the list. So yeah, we have more to use on a lap. I believe that also means we have more to use in the race as well. So, it's going to be interesting. I mean, this is the real test. We've seen racing, obviously, at Silverstone last week when we had the carnage. That straight isn't even half the size of this one. So we have got
No.
the real test here tonight of how overpowered the Slipstream, DRS, and ERS is, and we might even see someone who's in 6th move up to 1st. You really don't know. It's that close on tracks like this, where it's just straight after straight, and then a bit of a corner in between, as Jarno does go up to the line with a 1:33.050. So, now we hit the boring part. About 2 minutes to go before everyone goes back out on a set of the soft tyres to set their first representative runs here in Q1. Something else to note is that we do have 2 cars with a qualifying ban. The first one being Aston Martin's Otis Lawrence, which I believe was actually due to making the change last minute. And then Ben Marples for TES. I think that was just something that happened in the previous round. So TES and Aston Martin on a bit of a back foot, but of course they have Jan Halliday for Aston Martin, and we have for TES, when I find their name, Nelson Alves, who so far has done a brilliant job for the team, I think, this season.
Absolutely. And again, it is lovely that, the official teams don't put in their clan tags and then, the community teams do. It'd be also if Ben kept to that one as well, but it's fine. We'll let him off the hook. He was getting his riz on before the start of this lobby. So we can forgive him. You've got to try and play the game whichever way it comes.
Exactly.
But I feel like we do need to talk about, with games being played, DRS chicken and what on earth we saw on Wednesday night. Because if you guys weren't there, it was ridiculous. Everyone sort of backed off 5 laps before the end and started playing DRS chicken, the entire field all bunched up. But it was very reminiscent of what we had at Silverstone.
Yeah.
But the drivers seem to have learned a new move called braking on the exit of a corner. Now,
I saw that one.
I'm not sure about, how you guys feel in chat, both on Twitch and YouTube. Please let me know. But I don't feel like you should be allowed to brake on the exit of a corner. When everyone else is putting down the throttle. Otis, I know you're probably sitting watching this qualifying watch. I'm talking to you, buddy. But there's a lot of drivers which have been slowly starting to increase the amount of brakes they add coming out of corners. It all somewhat started when a certain Fernando Alonso did it in Australia, and everyone thought, okay, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Well, I don't know why he's got a penalty. George could have just driven around him. And now it's coming into the esport landscape, and let's be quite honest, it's a bit of a bit shit. Pardon my French there, by the way, but the FIA can't close me down.
Yeah, not you. Well, they will.
I've just seen what Yoda's put in chat, mate. Oh my word!
I didn't see what he put in chat. No.
It's a snipping tool of Jan Halliday doing a 4.778 second lap.
Sounds good to me. Jan Halliday,
That
get
is
those
absolutely
grid packs
rapid.
off.
Fair play. Fair play. Can we get that one posted on socials if Oscar's in here? Because that is a banger of a lap time. But hopefully, now we've got a couple of cars out on track. One of them being the well-renowned, a famous Leo Lund out on the circuit. The greatest race car driver to exist in, what?
But certainly...
24 years? Let's go for that.
No, he's 14.
Yeah, but we're going to give him an extra 10. Even when he was in the womb, he was still rapid.
I mean, he's not the best qualifier, but tonight he's got... I mean, this track's quite easy to qualify on because there's a lot of straights. There's only a few corners. So maybe we can see Leo Lund get his way into Q3. I mean, we chanted about him the whole way through Q1 and Q2. He did get into Q3 and started P9. So maybe he's going to do it again.
He's doing a little swerve to say hi to you.
I don't think it is.
You've orchestrated this. You went, okay, right, 8 minutes into quali. Do a little swerve for you, mate. I'll show you on camera. Get you a bit of screen time.
But his teammate, Gabriel Quintino, also been a bit of a dark horse this season onto the brand new 24 game. He was very good on F1 23. He had his one, obviously when I was over on WR Tier 2, he had his 1.5 races where he beat the top and that, but he was normally in the midfield. But going on to this game now, he's definitely, I'd say, at the top of F2, top of Tier 2, whichever league you look at, because he's very quick, especially in the race. Qualifying, definitely not his forte either. But, on a track like this, qualifying doesn't really matter. It's all about what you can do in the race and what you can do with your tyres. Another driver I think I definitely want to keep my eye on is Julian Klavenbach. Because this game has been absolutely rapid, and he's getting better race after race. But
he's got the wrong logo on, mate. He doesn't have a lime green circle all over.
Good point.
Honestly, I reckon he's been in it in a wall.
I'll be giving him a message after.
Um,
Get it changed
no,
before the race.
Honestly, get them all changed. Because of course, if you guys aren't familiar with how E-Series works, I've noticed you've got quite a few of you over in the chat who, you're asking what E-Series is. You will see on your screens, regardless of wherever we look, and Nathan decides to take us, being the beautiful director he is. That's less about his camera shots and more of him as a person. But you guys can see the cars appear to be ghosted, and that's because they are. Purely because the slipstream causes a whole bunch of problems in qualifying. Everyone backs up behind each other. No one wants to go first because you won't get through out the qualifying session. So the easiest way to do that, let's make all the cars ghosted. There's no slipstream, there's no dirty air effects. We'll have a mandatory restart going into the race where we'll turn off the ghosting.
Yeah.
And then we allow those shenanigans to take place in the race. We don't want to see it in qualifying, but we don't mind seeing it in the race. And that's part of where, if I dare say so, Connor's genius comes through, where he's understood what people want to see and how it should be run for the drivers to enjoy it and for the the viewers at home to enjoy it as well, because we get to see the pinnacle of great lap times, such as Leo Lunder's now just done on a slick compound tyre. And then we also get to see the brilliant racecraft they have to show as well. But the further we go through this session, the more we're just going to have to keep an eye out for, because those lap times are going to decrease rapidly down to the track evolution around this circuit.
They certainly will. And I'm just looking to try and find people on the lap. We got Angelo to the top there with a .672. Nicholas Longue heading through, as that will be Ika Bayana going into P4. John Evans now to the top by a tenth of a second. Can Nico make it a 1-2? Of course he can. It'll be a .458 there for Nicholas Longue. I'm heading on board now with Declan Barrett to see what he can do on this next run. He'll be the last one to set a time here on circuit, as we do see Ruben Pedreño there go up into P5. Preznader goes up into second place. Hardy up into P7, and Klaffenbach now into the top six with a .801. And I've got to say the lap times are very spread out here. Looking down to P14 at Leo Lund, nearly 6/10 separating himself and Longue. So the lap times are very spread out at the moment, as we do see Jana Watmir only go 13th.
It's not the ideal start you want when you're sitting P3 in constructors. You're trying to reel in a couple of the teams above you, the Ferraris, the race clutch, and you look at the timing sheet, and you see Ferrari P1, P3. Right, okay, at least we'll be able to make a move on race clutch. P6 and P8. And then you've ended up having both your drivers qualify P9, P13. It's not ideal, but the fact they still have 5 minutes to go back out, keep it going again, and then, push themselves back out there and have another run. As we've got Dan in the chat saying hi, and then
Hello,
also
Dan.
Manners dropping a little bit of Riz, saying, do you know what else is long? I absolutely do, mate. It's the back straight around this Las Vegas circuit. It's absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, it is. It's yes, a very
It's a
long
wild
straight
comment there,
indeed.
but
I mean,
by the way, from Manas.
yeah, I mean, I don't think rizzing in the PSGL chat is the way to go.
I mean, it might be. Big C's let it slide, so, like, come on. Who are we to stop at this point?
Jordan and Jason. We know those two are always around causing a bit of beef. The Ron Har versus Otmir, Jordan versus Jason. I mean, Jordan's in the chat as always, but there's no Jason here. Disgrace. He doesn't support PSGL. He only supports Thomas Ronhar. Definitely not, what's the word? Commendable at all. Commendable. There we are. That's the word.
What, supporting Thomas or not supporting PSGL?
Not
You've got to make
supporting
yourself clear,
PSGL, not
otherwise he's
supporting
never going to come back.
PSGL.
Right, say, mate, it was just going to get a very angry message there from Mr. Ronhar himself. But with that being said, we should probably mention, no Ronhar, R8G, they're not in the greatest position in the standings.
No.
Do we feel like they've just called it here and they've gone, right, we're not in contention to challenge for, those P1, P2, P3? Do we just give it to the, the developmental drivers and let them run their races how they want? Give them more time with the engineers to see which one of them can pick up the lingo, to pick up the techniques, to be able to progress themselves quicker than what they might have anticipated beforehand, before giving them this race exposure, which is so crucial for those drivers to develop individually.
I mean, I think it's also part of the fact that the main drivers don't want to race, because you've got lots of Tamash, Thomas, who, and Brendan Lee as well, who all drive WR, PSGL. The way the game is, they don't want to drive a third race in a week. So give it to the development drivers. Julian Klaffenbach, a driver which, if was of age, would definitely be, I think, contending for an esports seat. And Togo Hardy, been a bit of a weird one for him. This time last year, well, last season when we was at Las
He was
Vegas.
clear.
He was fighting
clear,
for
mate.
wins. He was getting pole positions. He was always in the top 5. But this game, just not really been his forte at all. Definitely found a bit of a struggle at the start of the F124 game. So giving him a bit more track time certainly will help him in the long run, as we do see a couple of cars now head out onto track to begin their final runs here in the Q1 session. And it will be Szymon Lekowski who goes out first. And Szymon's a bit of a weird character on this game, I noticed so far, because one race he's absolutely flying. Other race he's struggling to get out the bottom 5. It's a really weird one here for Szymon because he's either on it or not at all. And tonight, hopefully, for McLaren's sake, we can get him up to that top 5, top 10.
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit odd. I thought he was just going to call him weird and leave it there. But no, you do have a great point. When it comes to his qualifying runs, he's not been the most consistent by any stretch of the imagination. But the one thing he has been consistent on is getting overtakes sorted. Whenever he's had a poor qualifying, he's been able to move himself up the field. He's been able to challenge himself, push himself further ahead. Then you wouldn't, necessarily expect a driver, which doesn't qualify the greatness to be able to do very much in a similar boat to Leo Lund. But you consider that and you look at somewhat of the reason why that might happen.
Yeah.
You take into a bit of consideration, all of them are relatively young. All of them don't have, that necessary pressure that they would get experience to over the course of a qualifying. And it all somewhat adds up. With each qualifying you go into, you get used to it. You start adopting it. And then as soon as you start to feel a bit more comfortable with it, you can then start to work with an engineer to think, right, how can I capitalize on this? How can I make this pressure I'm feeling less of a comfort and more of, a little bit of kick of a backside, a little something where you can extract a little bit more from throughout the remainder of that session. And that's where you see those drivers. And I believe that's where we've been able to catch Angelo De Retenzio in as well. That key moment where he started to apply himself a little bit more in the qualifying, using that pressure.
Yeah.
And that is what elevates him ahead of all the other competitors at such a young age. It is absolutely fantastic to see. Something else which is fantastic to see for me, but maybe not for you, is we've got Rashawn Jacobs and Matthew Bassett joining us in the YouTube chat. Welcome, guys. Nathan has missed you. He was talking about you guys before stream. Said how much he loved you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't, but
You'd been...
take the
Oh,
compliment,
okay,
guys.
so you don't love them.
Take the compliment, guys. I mean, I've got to spend 5 days with them in a couple of weeks in Germany. I'd rather not get on the bad side of them before then, because it might not end well for myself. But we come to the end of Q1. Reece Linton is up by just over a tenth of a second, and I didn't realise how close the grid was from P6 down to P15. It's a tenth, which means all of these guys here have got to find some big improvements to try and get them safely through to Q2. As we see right at the back, of course, lots of Soriano, Baena and Lund aren't on that representative of lap time at all. They're very, quite far off some of those in the top 5. So they got to find some vast improvements, but so does everyone else. As Lekomsky goes up into 4th with a 0.590. What about Reece Linton? He goes up into 5th there for Race Clutch, looking a bit further down. We can see Ruben Progenio here for Williams, hops the curb through turn 14 and gets back on the power instantly now. Down towards the final corner where, of course, he can finish his lap time. We'll see who's going to be knocked out here in Q1. Only 3 people can be knocked out as Soriano goes into 10th. Progenio goes into 8th. What can Alves do? He goes and stays in 10th position. Jarno Opmeer is on the cusp here of being knocked out in Q1 as Baena goes into P6. That puts Tiger Hardy into the drop zone. And Veloci Academy's Gabriel Quintino is out in Q1. Can Leo Lund try and get out? No, he can't. He stays 17th. And that will be Tiger Hardy out of Q1 as well. Didn't find an improvement. And Red Bull, they're lucky there. Very lucky. You know what, me survived by, well, he found an improvement, but it was only by a 100th of a second at one point, but he does go up into 10th in the end.
Yeah, I'm split with 2 Red Bull drivers, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was a 1,000th of a second. Really showing there's very few places you can lose a little bit of time here, given somewhat of the nature of it. There's not too many places where you can somewhat coast and float yourself around. But to run you through the order, we've got Nicholas Longuet P1, Philip Progenator P2, John Evans P3, Simeon Lekomsky P4, Reece Linton P5, Julian Klappenbach P6. Very good lap time there from the RHG driver. Ika Baena moving himself up into P7, Angelo in P8, Jan Halliday P9, Jarno Opmeer P10, Ruben Drainer P11, Lillian Derbicourt P12, Nelson Alves 13, Mirko Soriano P14, Declan Barrett in P15, and then of course we have to say goodbye to Tycho Hardy, Leo Lund, Gabriel Quinto, and then of course for naughty boys of Otis Lawrence and Ben Marples. But let's be honest, it's not exactly both of our faults, is it?
I mean, Veloce Academies, yes, it's their fault. I mean, they're leading the community standings on 173 to TRT on 161. They are going to start 17th and 18th in the Grand Prix. Now, when you've only got a 12 gap to second and a 23 gap to third, that is definitely not what you want to see at all, considering Mirko and Angelo are absolutely brilliant so far. Of course, Mirko, you can always bank on him to get into the top 10, and Angelo, as of the past few races, has certainly been a driver that can easily get up there and be fighting for the top 5. So TRT, despite being 12 points behind Veloce Academy, are going into round on the penultimate round with a very big advantage over their competitors. So it's a very big race for TRT here. They want to maximise as many points as they can and try and get an advantage here over Veloce Academy.
With that being said, if you do want to have, a poor qualifying, where better to do it than Las Vegas?
Good point.
Overtaken? What of it, mate? To be quite honest, as long as we were somewhat in tandem with the likes of Longuet and Otmere coming out of... I don't even want to say the corner, to be honest. But you know the corner. We all do. Before you go on to that really, really long thing, which you love so much. Before you end up arriving there, I reckon we could probably keep in touch with him, as I think Nicholas Longuet there just borrowed a barricade.
Oh, has he hit something?
He's just took the
bollard.
Describe it. The bollard, that's the word. I was going to say the big circular traffic cone. It's not a traffic cone. It's been a long week, okay, everyone? But no, he's decided to take that with him just to make it a little bit more challenging for those of the drivers behind him to find out where the track limits are without overstepping the mark. Of
course, as Shimon Lekomsky hasn't gone out onto track. He's going to stay in the pits before he goes out. So we'll probably only do... Well, he can do 2 runs, but he's definitely going to leave it quite late. These drivers here, because of how early they've gone out, they can definitely make 3 runs here in this session, I do believe. And Jan Herde has had a disconnection. That is not what he would have wanted. He's been sent back to the pits after disconnecting, I believe. That is the last thing that Aston Martin will need, considering their other driver is starting at the back. So hopefully Jan can get in as soon as possible. If he does need an invite, of course, Jan or one of your engineers, send a message in the chat. I can get him back in as I have him on Steam. So we can try and get him back in ASAP. But I'm sure he should be able to join through the lobby host, Ben Marple. So hopefully we can see Jan back with us shortly. But we do have some laps underway. Nicholas Longuet, the first one to head out onto track and set a lap time here at the start of Q2. Of course, some drivers will be on a used set of the tyres. Some will be on a new set of the tyres, depending on how well you did back in the Q1 session, as we see Nicholas Longuet now head through in towards turn 10, 11, and then, of course, into the chicane. Well, bit of a, not a chicane, is it? It's a 90-degree hairpin to the left at turn 12, which is knocked over the bollard again, heading down towards turn 14. We'll see what he can do on this occasion. And I'm very glad, Josh, that there's no slipstream with the ghosting being on, ghosting being off, because you get so much of an advantage down your straight when you're on a qualifying lap.
Yeah, it'd be absolutely ridiculous. It'd be insane to think, there's probably about 3-4 temps there you can just pick up just by sitting in the slipstream. That's without... even considering, using a deploy mode on your ERS, which is now going to feel absolutely limitless throughout your entire qualifying session. And without even, cracking open a DRS to really try and maximise getting up into the 8th gear. But we are seeing drivers now set their lap times, presumably on a set of used tyres, because they are a little bit slower than what we first saw in Q1.
They certainly are, and a couple of drivers having an invalidation, and a couple of them going back into the pits after their first run, so they won't set their lap times as Nelson Alves goes up to the top there with a 29.939, and Jarno Otmere goes up into second there with a 29.959. And after the first laps here in the Q2 session, we have Ika Bayana in the drop zone, the 2 TRTs who had an invalidation in the drop zone, Jan Herde and Ruben Progenio. So Jan can be let off, being as he didn't actually get to go out on track, but the other 4 definitely not the way they would have wanted it to go, being as it's 2 Williams and 2 TRTs who made that invalidated lap. Williams aren't in a position to be going out in Q2, are they, at this point, really? They're in P9 in the standings. They don't really want to stay there, do they? They're only 60 points back off P5, so they can have a big resurgence if they play their card right in the next 2 rounds.
But that is a massive if. Let's be quite frank.
It's a big ask.
In the most polite way possible to, Williams Esports, they've not really shown anything here in E-Series this season. They've shown up, they've participated, but it feels like they've not come with vengeance. They've not come with that want to win. They've not come with that desire to prove themselves. And it very much does feel like they are in a rough scenario now of having to try and save their face a little bit from what could ultimately be finishing last here in E-Series, which would be embarrassing for them. And that's purely down to, the legacy and what they've been able to do here in E-Series before and what that Williams name holds. It would be a slight embarrassment if, let's say, for example, the Talon Racing team, a very new organisation, rocks up here, the first season in E-Series, and beats them. And it is very much starting to look that is going to be the way it'll happen. And it is just a shame to see that Williams name back down in P10. It very much feels like we're back to
IRL racing.
The good old Sergei Sorokin, Lance Stroll. You could rattle off a whole list of drivers. Nicholas Latifi, George Russell, I heard he was quite washed as well, but you get the point.
Well, first season of E-Series, they won it. And it was by a big advantage. I think it was like 80 points to Veloce Academy. Yes, VA finished second in the first season as well. So definitely not the way Williams would like to end it. Ferrari have been outstanding. Well, I don't think they took part in Season 1, but Season 2, they won it. Season 3, they won it. Season 4, they're looking to win it as well. So Ferrari are becoming the 2014 to 2020 Mercedes era of F1 E-Series. Are they ever gonna lose a championship at this point? They've gone that far into it. I mean, there's possibilities of E-Series coming back again. I think it's in the pipelines, but can't confirm nor deny. If Ferrari sign up again, do you think they can win it again if they win it this season? Do you think they're just going to have that ultimate confidence going into every season of E-Series that they take part in? Or do you think maybe, with the possibility of esports being started around when we'll be looking to start again for E-Series, do you think maybe those teams will struggle because they haven't got their big wildcard names to use?
I mean, let's look at it from this perspective. Season 3, we all know a scenario with the F1 sim racing being up in the air, no one having a clue what's happened. Did the first couple rounds, radio silent, nothing. No one has a clue about anything. We all understood that. Ferrari understood that. And even when it started to pick back up and F1 sim racing started to, get a little bit more information out there about, okay, it is still happening. These are, we're looking around this month and these weeks to do events. That's when they started to use Barry Burham and Nicholas Longuet. Before then, they were very much having fun with development drivers, the likes of Mirko Soriano. Was it Mirko? I think it was Mirko, wasn't it?
What, in E-Series?
Yeah. Dish Van Pookie.
Barry, Mirko, Nico, Istvan, a lot of drivers. Dylan as well.
A lot of very talented drivers there, but they were all very much just having a little bit of fun and trying to develop a little bit more. But as soon as it came through that, okay, competition's back on the horizon, they snapped, they got back into it, and it was like absolute clockwork. But to answer your question as a whole, I think they've just got to see this season out at the moment. They can't start thinking too far ahead because we saw what Race Clutch capable of, and let's be completely honest.
Exactly.
Red Bull, you've got Jarno. You can never count him out in any race possible. They've got Freddie on the sidelines if they need him. They've got Declan Barrett. They've got Tom Manley, and of course we've got Liam Parnell. There's very few people you want to rule out, but Liam is one of them.
No, we love Liam Parnell. I mean, to be fair, it's been sad not to see him here. I mean, I know we never really fight to say out of the top 5, out of the bottom 5, but we love Liam Parnell. What a
brilliant,
a kind-hearted gentleman in the community. As Will Gibson would say, a legend of the sport, because he says that quite often about people. Jen Halliday sets the fastest time of 29.6, Josh.
Oh, well, that's what he gets for going back into the pits with his AI, doesn't it? A little cheeky reset. Mentally checked out and checked back into the lobby. Brilliant stuff there from Jan. But no, today at work I had a brilliant task. I got to edit a little bit of footage of Liam Parnell, so I very much enjoyed my day.
That would definitely make my day, and I think it would make anyone's day, as we see Berner go up into third, Nicholas Longuet up into second, and Presnader to the top with a 29.3. That's a brilliant lap, considering the gap back to Jan Halliday is over 3/10, and then Angelo D'Ortenzio up into the top 2. Pedronio goes up to 4th, puts Nico down to P5, and what about Race Clutch? What can they do? Reese Linton goes up into 2nd. Lillian will need to find a big improvement as well. Higa heads to the line and goes into P5. Now, one thing to notice from that is Red Bull are both down in the drop zone, but they're still on their laps. What can Jarno Opmeer do as he heads to the line, goes P5? What about Barrett? Can he try and get himself out of that bottom 5? Of course, 5 minutes to go. They can set another lap time, but you don't really want to be in a position where you got all the pressure on you to set a brilliant lap as we follow through here with Barrett. Needs to get out of that bottom 5, but look who it will knock into the bottom 5, Josh. Nicholas Longe.
Again, it's another one of those things where it's starting to get a little bit too close to
Ooh.
call as he finishes just P11 there. But he's still got enough time to do the lap, as you mentioned. But it is getting to that point where, as we see, I believe that was Julian there, jumping up into P10. It's getting to that point where it's very much, okay, who could we theoretically see go out here? And you can't, there's no clear outstanding names where you think, okay, they might be lacking a little bit of pace here, a little bit of pace there. Because all these drivers, so talented, all of them know exactly how to maximize for themselves around any singular lap on any singular circuit. And that's where they really grow into their own. Especially for a couple of those drivers. We've already had, the mentions of, for Leolands, for example, who don't necessarily have a great qualifying pace. You could probably argue the same for a Jarno. Not having that outrageous qualifying pace of being able to pull 2 temps out, out the behind from nowhere. But when it comes towards that race pace, where the points really count, that's where those drivers seem to, excel. So for me, it's going to be interesting to see which one of those drivers understands the role they play in, maybe haven't gone for a qualifying orientated setup and kind of want to sit back a little bit, relax slightly, and think more about trying to get those overtakes sorted in the race and carrying the pace through there, because there is 3 minutes 30 left on the session, and we are getting a couple cars getting double stacked in the pit lane.
Yep. They should get out again, but of course it's just annoying, isn't it, having those little double stacks when you head into the pits. But at the moment, in the drop zone in Q2, we have one of the Ferraris, Nicholas Longe. We have Declan Barrett for Red Bull, Ika Bayana for Williams, Lekomsky for McLaren, and Soriano for TRT. And I mean, Race Clutch are going to be laughing if Longe goes out, because it looks like at the moment they will get both of their drivers through into Q3. Reece Linton, I would say, is pretty much confirmed along with Evans and Preschneider, but everyone else has got to go again, I think. I don't even think Dortenzio safe there on a what would be a 129.546, so he's definitely got to go out, I think, as well as everybody else below him. So we'll see how Q2 ends, with Nicholas Longe being the first to go out on track. Of course, being under pressure, not something that Nicholas Longe is normally under. In E-Series, normally he goes out, does a lap, top of the timings, or maybe the top 3, goes back in, retires. Now, he's in a position where he's in the bottom 5, and he's going to have a lot of pressure on him to get into Q3. Remember, we've got 2 rounds to go, this round and, of course, Bahrain next week. The gap in the championship between Ferrari and Race Clutch is only 36 points. A knockout in Q2 would put a big dent in Ferrari's chances going through into round 10. Of course, they would still have an advantage, but certainly wouldn't be of what it could have been if they can get Nico up into that top 5 and up into maybe a fight for pole position in Q3.
But let's not forget, there's a reason Matt Gallagher back in the day used to call him Nicholas Longway, because he always used to go around the outside. He has some absolute testicular fortitude when it comes to those clutch moments where he needs to pull something out of his bag. He pulls out the whole shopping list, doesn't he? He's not only just gone and purchased one or 2 of the things. He's done the week shopping. He's done the month shopping. Whack it all in the freezer. Beautiful. Bish bash bosh. Nicholas Longe, he's your way to go. So we've got Nicholas Longe here, just about to start his lap. It's an unfamiliar position here in E-Series, but we know what he's capable of. We know he's cold as ice when it comes to these high-pressure moments. So let's have a look at how he's going to be able to crack this first sector. You can see him there getting so close to the curb on the inside. Normally what the drivers would do is tend to try and clunk that curb on the inside, try and carry a little bit more speed, carry the rotation through, but still, full throttle all the way down, already up into 7th gear, and then up into 8th. This is where he'd be looking to try and get a slipstream, but unfortunately, there's none of that around Nathan.
There is not, which is why he's got to rely all on that skill and on that overpowered ERS and DRS, which he can use, as he's up by 2 thousandths in the first sector. So not looking the best so far here for Nicholas Longe, but of course still has 2 sectors to go. Of course, looking to try and get his way through into Q3 in the drop zone at the moment by just over half a tenth to Julian Klaffenbach, who's doing a brilliant job so far for RHG. Of course, they lost Tiger Hardy in Q1. They would also like to get a driver through into Q3 as we hop the curb at turn 12. Nicholas Longe will have the battery to use. He will also have the DRS to use shortly as he heads down to turn 14, Josh. Let's have a look. What speed Nico can hit down this straight, as Reese Linton retired in the pit, so he won't continue on, but I think he's safe anyway to not go out on track.
I mean, you say that. Nicholas is looking pretty good. He's got 4 temps clearance. He just about hit 214 miles an hour. Not sure what that is in kilometres. You will have to give me for my American ways. But we do see Nicholas here, threading it through the eye of a needle, through that final chicane, storming his way up towards the line. So be careful not to cut too much of this inside curb because it can invalidate. But he's a trained professional. He knows exactly what he's on about. And that's exactly what he does. A 129.2 on the board. And I do believe the next car across the line will be his teammate, John Evans, who looks on an absolute solid lap once again. Looking to get another improvement there by about 0.2 of a second, although he does have a slight slide coming through that horrible, twisty left-right back towards that left-hand side. It is awkward, and there is a lack of grip there, but John, we're fully aware of that. You can see him keeping up towards that left-hand side. Again, another improvement, but maybe not by as much as he was originally on for.
Of course, as Jan Herde might be out here because he had an invalidation on his run. As we do see Ruben Pedronio go up into P6. What about Angelo? He's also let off, I think, on his lap. We need to find someone who's heading to the line. We've got here Lillian Dabacourt here for Race which would like to get through to Q3 to join his teammates, Reese Linton, as he heads through to the final corner. Will Lillian improve? He certainly will. Goes up into P5. Now, Jarno Ottmeyer has got a lot of pressure on his back. He's P10 at the moment, and he's nearly going to be dropped out of Q2. Mirko Soriano won't make it into Q3 for TRT. Neither will Declan Barrett for Red Bull. Jarno Ottmeyer goes up into P5. He should be through into the next session. Now it's all down to Julian Klaffenbach as Nelson Alves goes up into B6 and Julian's out. Julian Klaffenbach will be out for R8G, meaning they'll start this Grand Prix P15 and P16. And also TRT are both out. Angelo couldn't find an improvement. Now that will be hard hitting for TRT there because normally they get one driver through to Q3 quite easily. And today, not going to happen at all.
But with that being said, Williams getting both drivers through into Q3 once again here. Hopefully this time for them, they won't have lap 1 contact and they'll be able to continue in the top 10. But both Williams, both McLaren, and picking up Declan Barrett's spot is, of course, for TS, Nelson Alves, sneaking himself up into the top 10. Very cheeky of him to do so, but when the door's open and he's been given an invite, it's wrong to say no. He's made himself up into the top 10. But of course, again, perhaps a couple blunders there from a couple of the teams. Of course, Jan and Julian, respectively, both of which won't be happy with going out here in Q2. But we've mentioned it time and time again. Vegas is a track you can overtake on. It is a track which invites a lot of overtaking, if not forces you to do a lot of overtaking, even if you don't want to. So it'll be interesting to see how they're going to divulge and how they're going to prep towards the race. But so far, towards the top of that timing sheet, it does very much look like Ferrari, once again, on top here in qualifying.
They are. Ferrari, yet again, at the top. Nicholas Longe, definitely not a man you can really call out here in qualifying. Of course, had a bit of a mistake in the start of Q2, but of course, by the end, got himself back up to pace as we head into Q3. Obviously, I think we all know who's most likely to get pole, and that will be Nicholas Longe because of the pace he's had so far. But any of the other 9 drivers can definitely still go for that fight. And Josh, I'm going to ask you the question, without being biased, who's going for pole?
Jonas Martins.
Oh, okay.
He's always a step ahead. They're just starting Q3. He's just finished it in his head.
What was he do? The best lap time ever? PB? World record?
I mean, he screen capped a 4-second lap, so to be fair to him...
Good point.
You're clearly showing something there. But no, if we're going to take it a little bit more serious than just saying a Ferrari engineer because they seem to always be a step ahead. Let's right. Jarno race pace, he's up there. Qualifying pace, especially around a track like Las Vegas, could be a little bit awkward. Okay. I'm feeling the room. I'm feeling the sensors, and despite me, working for the opposition, I feel like Philip Proschneider might be on for a bit of a banger. I can feel something. I can see a couple of the Nelson Alves rooting for him. I can see that. I can respect that decision because it's not a boring one like you're going to give Nicholas Longe.
No, I'm not going to give Nicholas Longe, actually. I'm going to go with Reese Linton.
Okay.
I feel like Reis got it today. I said it in Austria when Lily Pipinter took pole. I'm going to say it again with Reese Linton. He's going to take pole in Q3. Josh thinks Philip Prejneda. Guys in the chat, tell us who you think will take pole position for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. I mean, Nicholas Longo has looked outstanding so far, but me and Josh want to go away from the obvious, try something a little bit different. But of course, you can also vote for Nicholas Longo if you would like to, if you think he
But if you
can get
do,
pole. But I
You're
think,
boring.
well, I think we know one name
I'll
that's going to
call
get the vote, don't we? And that is the goat, Jan Artmere.
It's a strange thing to call him, isn't it?
Why?
The goat. He's a goat. Let's be
Sorry, a
honest.
goat.
There's enough goats to do F1 sim racing. I mean, you can't displace Liam Parno.
I'll say this name, and there we are. The chat's blown up with Jan Artmere already. We've got Cookmere, Goatmere. Here we go.
Goatmere.
All the abbreviations of Jan Artmere's name in the chat. Get him in, guys.
No, Pogmere.
Fraudmere.
Oh, I saw a Joy Takemir earlier.
Eoresmere. You know, there's just. It's such a good last name, isn't it? You can make so many.
Yeah.
So many.
I saw a good one of Thomas the other day. It was ICBM.
Yes, I saw that one. Yeah.
Again, another one of those where I was like, okay, what? Come on, like seriously, just stop cooking with these names because some of them are just too good. We got John Espon. Oh my God, Yona. Right, no,
Who's that?
I don't know, but it sounds very similar to Epstein. So.
Oh wait, yes.
Yeah. No, Yona, no. I'm sure that's not the way you want me to read it. There's some sort of joke in there which we just don't get because we're not part of the Ferrari gang. Please tell us the joke so it seems less like you've just called him. Yeah. But John, again, let's talk about John for a little bit here because of course he came over from Aston Martin, and ever since he's put on some red clothes, he's been driving
very well,
very reminiscent of dare I say a German driver inbred back many years ago.
Schumacher.
He's been absolutely. I was thinking further back.
Who then? Fangio?
Fangio was Argentinian. Okay, we're not.
A German
Right.
driver in Ferrari, Michael Schumacher. Oh wait,
Okay.
Sebastian Vettel.
Okay, that's not further back. Well, yeah, sure. Epsom area in London.
Oh.
Right. Okay. There we go. Loads more sense, Yoda. Thank you for saying that one, mate. I was getting a bit worried there. But no, he has been an absolutely fantastic driver. He's been thereabouts. He's always been somewhat rocking the boat a little bit. He's been a driver you wouldn't necessarily say he's on pace with the Yarnos, the Blakeleys, the Longays, the Rasmussens, but he's been there and he's been doing a bloody brilliant job up there as well. And that's something you cannot take away from him. So I'm interested to see what he's going to be able to cook up here today.
He won, didn't he, last week in Silverstone? I mean, Freddie took it, but he got a penalty, dropped down to P9. John Evans took the win. I mean, he's been looking very strong in this game, of course. I remember WRT1, there was even a graphic when he made the points for his first time in the F124 game. And since then, he's been absolutely flying. It's been brilliant to see John Evans up the top here in PSGL and over in WR as well. But we do have a few cars on their laps. Nelson Alves is half a lap ahead of the second car on a lap. So we'll keep on board here with the TES driver, I believe, if I'm correct, from Portugal. Please tell me if I'm wrong in the chat, guys, but I believe he is a fellow Portuguese young man. I'm not going to say Spanish because I don't think that will end well with that community if I call him Spanish.
Fellow? Are you Portuguese?
Oh, no. You know what I mean.
Sue. We do see Nelson Alves here, checking it through the final corner. Up towards the line. Where's young Portuguese man going to be able to put himself? It's a 1:29.5. Over 6 minutes 40 left on the clock. He's got enough time to go back around, get a new set of those soft compound tyres on, and give it another go. As we have confirmation here with more Sues. Jack West very unhappy that his Messi fandom is getting crushed at the minute. But let's be honest, some people are born with talent, some people have to earn it. And, well, let's just say I feel like you know a lot more about being born with it than earning it, Jack. You've got to use it.
Well,
put it to the works.
Joao Ferreira says that was on a bad lap on used tyres, so Nelson Alves could be on a set of used tyres here, if that is correct.
Sorry, can you say his first name again?
Nelson.
Joao.
Joao.
No, Joao.
Joao. Yes, Joao.
Please that's how to pronounce it. We're too British.
Joao, that's how you pronounce it. Because Joao Piana.
Well, Joao.
You know.
Joao.
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 But Josh, look at the timings. Look who's 1 and 2.
Oh dear me, raise clutch once again. Mate, I'm telling you, they're just waiting. They're just trying to cook up an opportunity for when the 11th team in Formula 1 joins. Yarno vote. Invalidated his lap time. He's not going to be setting lap time here, but he will be coming across the line to finish it anyway. Let's have a look where he would theoretically be at 29.5. So that would still put him in the P5 relatively.
Yeah.
Behind Nelson Alves. Unfortunate for him. But Nicholas Longate, if you were boring with the predictions, well, I feel like it might be heading your way because he has just put a very dominant gap of almost an entire 10th between himself and Reese Linton. Given how this track, has evolved, given how little time there is to really try and expand on it, and really the only time you gain is through being a bit braver on the curbs and cutting a couple of corners here and making sure you don't get invalidated, that might just be good enough for pole.
Indeed, and John Evans has invalidated again. So not looking good here for John Evans at the start of Q3. Nelson Alves is back in the pits here for TES. Yana Watmere, of course, will be heading back into the pits as well as Prejnoda and Bayana. As Ika also had a invalidation on his lap as well, hence why he won't be setting one here at the start of Q3. We'll have a couple of minutes to go until we see the cars head back out once again for their final runs. And Nicholas Longate is on that provisional pole position by a tenth of a second to Reese Linton and by about a tenth and a half to Lillian Davenport in third. And, well, remember, guys, the gap between Ferrari and Race Clutch is 36 points here in this championship. A 2 and a 3 for Race Clutch in quali would be brilliant. That is what they need because they can work together to break down Nicholas Longate and put themselves into a 1-2 position. And after calculating it correctly, including the pole position and fastest lap points, if you finish P1 and P2, you can take 65 points in one race. I thought it was about 55, but no, it's 65. Of course, 63 without the pole and the fastest lap. So that's something else that Race Clutch and Ferrari have got to put into consideration. At the top of the top 3, when you're in there, the points are brilliant. But when you drop down, the points drop is massive. So that's when you really don't benefit. So they might be sitting P2, P3 now, but if they finish, for example, P5 and P6, you might think, yeah, it's a decent race, but they'll only take away 20 points, 30 points. It's not a lot.
It is one of those, isn't it? Because, of course, you want to rescue, you want to get those points, but at the same time, even if you are whittling down the lead of the championship and leaving it for that final round in Bahrain, you are still making progress. Yes, it's a little late in the season to try and whittle down, that Ferrari mega structure at the top of the standings. But it's not being set with them just there because it has rebounded backwards and forwards between Ferrari, Race Clutch and Red Bull throughout the course of the season. So, is it going to be due time for that pendulum to swing once again, but this time back over into Race Clutch's favour come the end of this race? I feel like it's all very much going to come down to that final little stint they'll do.
Yeah.
Regardless of what tyres they're on, understanding that at that point, that's the Gunko racing. That's the part where you play the DRS chicken. You don't sit in line, you don't wait, and you work together as a cohesive unit to close down anyone. Because ideally, as you've already mentioned, working together with your teammate will help you be able to pick apart and chisel down any of the other opposition out there on circuit.
It will.
Again, it's very much playing towards the likes of Race Clutch and even Ferrari, especially in comparison to Red Bull, with Declan not making it through into Q3. There's an awful lot there. Awful lot of work for Declan to do and an awful lot of work for Jarno to do to make sure he doesn't get jumped, especially in that opening stint.
Of course, and with Red Bull being 54 points back, they would still like to finish high because they want to keep themselves in that championship fight going through into the remaining round. If they get outscored, I think it's 12 points in this race, they won't be able to fight for the championship next week in Bahrain. So Jarno Watmere needs to do a very good lap here to try and get himself up into that top 5 to still take some decent points away for Red Bull and not be outscored heavily by Ferrari and Race Clutch. But we have everyone on track now. Nicholas Longate at the back of the field. He is going to be last to set his lap. But one of the first guys will be Reese Linton, of course. Behind that of being Szymon Lakowski, Philip Prejnoda, who's also looking good in qualifying. These two, it'll be interesting to see what they can do at the start of these laps. And the question is there going to be any track evolution between when Philip starts his lap and between when Nicholas Longate starts his lap?
Oh, I'm not sure. And that's part of the beauty here in E-Series, is you can never quite tell what's going to happen, regardless if you get given all the information in front of you, or you know everything. If you could even tell the future, to be honest with you, it could very much change in half a second, as Philip Prejnoda is looking to do here for his final run in Q3. trying to get that all-elusive pole position for the McLaren Shadow outfit here. And with everything that these guys have worked towards, they had a horrid start to the season, bounced back, came back with vengeance, adopted some more points, and then since then, they found the key to the success. They've been working on it, evolution, progress, race after race, just stepping it up each notch every single time. Is this the time they could potentially walk away here with a pole position? If not, perhaps even a podium.
We'll see what Philip can do. I mean, he's definitely got the pace to go for pole, but the question is, can he get the lap at the right time? He looks strong in Q1, looks strong in Q2, but of course, Q3 is where it really matters, as the checkered flag has waved. No one can start another lap in this session. So it's do or die time for the top 10 here in Q3. And first to cross the line will be Philip Presjeda, heading his way down towards turn number 40. And of course, his teammates in the top 5, but that lap time will be nowhere near what you need to be in the top 5. So Philip needs to have a brilliant lap in the bag here. We'll be looking for a 0.2 or a 0.1 here to get himself into that top 5 here in this Q3 session. Heads through out of the final corner now. Where will Presjeda go to the line? Goes up to P4 with a 0.344. Next we'll have Reesinton. He stays second place. He won't go for pole. Lekomsky goes up into third for McLaren. What about Derbicourt? Can he find an improvement? I don't think he will. No, he stays in P4. What about John Evans? He's down in P9 at the moment. He would like to try and take pole. He goes up into second to make it a Ferrari 1-2 here in Q3, unless anyone can deny him. As Nelson Alves for TES goes up into fourth place. That's their best qualifying, I think, ever here in PSGL E-Series. What about Ikebeda? He goes up into P8. We've got a couple of cars still to cross the line. Opmir goes up into P9. What about Progenio? Can he take pole away from Longue? No, he can't. He'll go P5. And Nicholas Longue, without needing an improvement, has that pole position, but he does find an improvement with a 0.106. So brilliant lap there from Nicholas Longue.
Oh my word. He didn't even need to improve. He just chose to do it. That's something just absolutely extraordinary about Nicholas Longue and adopting that. But more importantly, that idea of both race coaches working together to chop away at Nicholas Longue seemingly disappeared. John Evans P2. They're going to have such a stern line of defense to be able to defend themselves from the cars behind, being Riesling and then, of course, Nelson Alves, TES. Portugal, put yourself on the back. You've got a star there. Keep him going. Rupert Drano in P5, Jan Otmir only P6, Simeon Lekomsky P7, Lilian Derbicourt P8, Philip Presjeda P9, Ikebana P10. But with that being said, we've mentioned it before about the qualifying, especially around, a circuit such as Las Vegas. It doesn't really mean much.
No, it doesn't.
It can all get flipped on its head in the space of 2 laps, especially given the DRS, the slipstream, and we've not even mentioned how close the walls are to the cars. It's going to be absolutely ridiculous. But one thing I am very much looking forward to seeing is how the drivers adapt their approach to this Las Vegas circuit. But of course, it's only a matter of time before we get the cars properly out on circuit. I'm sure they'll have a little practice start. They'll have a little bit of fun here. But let's not beat around the bush here. We do have a little bit of time to kill over the lobby restarts. So let's burn a little bit of this as well. As correctly just pointed out, Ferrari get an extra point for pole position. Makes their day a little bit better. But hopefully, to make everyone's days at home a little bit better, we can show you guys the people who have helped put this on behind the scenes. Of course, GT Omega and SRC.
Of course, we'll have a quick word from them as we head our way out of this session. And welcome back, everybody, after a quick words from our sponsors, who, of course, are here to help fund this series and, of course, to help PSGL thrive as much as it does so, of course. A big thank you to GT Omega and SRC for supporting here at PSGL. And I'm sure Bob's in the background watching along as well. I can see him in the
Yes.
corner. He's watching, having a little bit of a look.
Always lurking, bless him. He's actually been whispering sweet nothings to me a couple
I
of
see.
evenings ago. It's been a bit disturbing, to be honest with you. I never knew Teddy Bears could speak, but he's also been dropping a little bit of key information for me as well. Apparently, chances of it raining here are very low.
Yeah.
Which you would think, right? It's Las Vegas in a desert. Come on, let's stop being a bit stupid here.
Mhm.
But they're low. They're not impossible. Think about that for a second.
I mean, it's F1 24. It
Imagine.
might rain, but I doubt it. I mean,
Imagine.
I've
Just
saw.
can we just imagine for a moment, please, Nathan? You don't need to pop the bubble. You don't need to crush it. Just rain around this Vegas circuit right here, right now.
I mean, I have saw rain at Saudi before in a race. I think it was about 3 seasons ago. I did see rain at Saudi, so it's possible. Is it going to happen? Probably not, but you never know. The chances are there, and having rain in this race would definitely throw a curveball. But I don't think it's something we need to even bother thinking about going through into this session, as someone has unfortunately left. So hopefully we can get them back in before we start this Grand Prix. But 25 laps of racing. We've all seen on Twitter. We've all seen, on PSGL, WOR, and also on the drivers' accounts that the DRS, Dirty Air ERS, has been a big talking point, and it's got a lot of disagreements about the way it is and about how it's so OP. This is, as we said before, the ultimate test, because around here we've got a very long straight. We've got a couple of long straights as well to add. Turn 12 is going to be carnage, because if you're leading on that straight, there's no possible way you can win it. There's literally no way you can get yourself into the lead there, because the advantage that those have with the DRS and no dirty air is absolutely ridiculous. So you'll be seeing drivers on that last lap backing up heavily, going into that zone to just try and get themselves that extra bit of DRS and, of course, that extra position to try and fight for that win at the final corner. But remember, Josh, if you save up your battery, they have another run out of turn 16 out of the chicane. So if you lose a position there, maybe, you can certainly gain it back as long as you don't burn your battery down towards the final corner. So it might not be all over by that chicane at the end of the long, long straight.
Yeah, you say that, but then I'm also going to hit you with, well, yes, but that was with the old battery model. Of course, new update, new battery model. You get a lot more deployment per lap. It wouldn't surprise me if you was able to burn your battery to get up into 8th gear, going down the long straight from turn 12 all the way down, and then still have enough to burn coming out of, turn 14? All the way up until the start finish straight. It wouldn't surprise me if you would be able to do that with the new battery system.
I think
which
you
would be
would.
a bit of a shame. But with that being said, it's not the end of the world. So apparently my microphone's quiet. Maurice, is this okay for you? Hopefully that's going to be a little bit better for you.
I mean,
Marco in the chat as well saying, "It's my first time watching a match like this. Why do we have a restart in the final?" That is the most unique way I've ever seen a person describe a Grand Prix. But the reason why we have a restart is because in qualifying, the cars were all ghosted.
Yeah.
So it's to restart it. It's to make sure that we do have real racing. No one's going to be inside each other. Hold up. No one's going to be going, through each other. There's actual overtakes for not just flowing through and causing a massive mess on your screen, because the last thing we want is 7 cars all in the spot one car can be. You can't tell who's coming out. You can't tell who's, potentially going to take the lead of a race. None of that's going to be the script. So it's for everyone's best interest. We restart the lobby.
Yep.
We get a clean slate, and we can all take a new approach out here.
But it also means that if there's any issues with the lobby, with the server, that it also kind of puts out on a fresh slate as well. So if there's any game issues, desync issues, they'll also be solved once you go back in. So it, also provides us an extra level of security going through into the race. But we haven't got long to go. We've got everyone back in. I think it was Angelo that unfortunately left, but he's back in now, and we're ready to rock and roll for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. And going into this, it's hard to predict who will win, because the whole of the top 10 are in for it. And another thing that we've got to discuss is strategy. Is the
there's
overcut
none.
the way to go?
You
or the
absolutely
undercut?
send it. Mate, there's no strategy. Send it. If you lose an end plate, don't put. if you fall out of DRS, I think it's going to be Western Austria here today.
Also, guys, quick thing. I've just been sent a video by Will Gibson at the moment. He's engineering,
dear.
and his PC's died, so he's got his phone and his TV for engineering.
Oh, who's the engineering here for?
I'm not going to say anything.
Okay, right. We're not allowed to know the individual driver.
Well, I think we do know who, but we can't
we
say.
can guess.
No.
But probably can't say.
You know who it is.
Yeah, but anyway, besides the point, it is one of those things where that driver might be at a certain disadvantage. But given the fact that majority of the time these drivers around this circuit, given the the state the game is in, they're relying on their own laurels most of the time. An engineer won't be able to tell you there's like 2-3 cars coming up behind you by the time they're already behind you. As soon as the engineer says that, they're already
The past,
yeah, and it's going to be one of those where the driver's just going to have to be awake, aware, and alert, especially on a street circuit. Jolyon Palmer, I miss you. Can we get him back?
Oh, what did he say? What didn't he... I saw something on
You
Twitter.
always need to be alert.
That was
on
it,
a street
yeah,
circuit.
something like that. Yeah, I mean, putting the
World famous
obvious.
quote.
Thank you, Jolyon Palmer. But
If
we're
you
heading
didn't
into
say
the
it, no one
race.
would know.
Josh, you got the pleasure
No.
at the start, so I can look at the race director.
Oh, come on. I don't want the start. The start's going to be a mess. Everyone's going to go dive bomb down into turn 1. But hopefully, as you guys can see on your screens at the minute, you can see the tyre compounds. You see everyone's hovering over on that medium tyre. With only one driver opting to hover on the hard compound tyre. Now, is that going to sway over the course
Have a look.
of this little bit of time
Yes.
before they end up jumping across? Because it wouldn't surprise me if a couple more, drivers take a little look at that, think, right, okay, that hard tyre's the way to go. But you think at the same time, if you go on that hard compound tyre, you won't necessarily get the greatest launch off the line in comparison to the mediums, and you are risking, if you end up picking up any bit of damage, if there's a safety car, if there's a yellow flag, and you've already started that hard compound tyre, those mediums till the end of a race may be doable. Might have to ask Jonah about that, because he's quite often the man with the tyre delta numbers. But with that being said, even if it is doable, it still won't be very nice, especially looking to try and get the best exit possible out of turn 12. Doesn't matter how much of that curb on the inside you clunk, you're always going to need those tyres to give you a little bit more traction to get you really flying down the straight. So, 50% race. Let's see what is on the cards here, because it's not a full race, don't get me wrong, but it will definitely feel like a little bit of a long one, especially given how the sort of nature of a circuit plays out, because it'll look like 1 second we're all battling for position. The next second, all the drivers are squabbling over who's going to be the first one into the pits. But with that being said, we've got the 5 lights here in E-Series, and it's lights and away we go. And Angelo Duratenzio getting a drive-through penalty for the jump start. At this point, he's got to just fully commit to jumping the start and put a little bit more pressure on. As you can see, a couple of these cars are ghosted, just trying to make sure they're going through safe, securely, through these opening sectors. With that being said, Yana Watmere getting an absolute outrageous launch, apparently, according to my timing sheet, saying he's in the lead of a race, but I can confirm you that is not true. He is still P5 now, falling down to P6, with Nelson Alves making a cheeky move up his inside. I am absolutely not sure what on earth is happening here with this lobby, but something is happening indeed. Hopefully everything's going to get sorted out relatively soon. But with that being said, John Evans not getting the best start, as Nelson Alves and Reece Linton have both made a jump on him. Expected with both of them on that medium compound tyre, but we can see a lot of these cars opting to go for that hard compound tyre, especially those towards the back, Nathan.
Of course, and Reece Linton trying something a bit different here with Race Clutch going for the medium over Nicholas Longay on the hard. So we'll see how that ends. But we do see a move for second place. Nelson Alves here burning a lot of battery on the opening lap, looking to try and take second. But no, slots behind Reece Linton for now, who's going to be looking to close in on the back of Nicholas Longay further back as well. We do see Ruben Pedreño get ahead of John Evans as Jono Opmeer. He's still got a bit of an issue with his delta, but of course that's desync on our end, but nothing harmful to any of the drivers. So we will continue on, of course, as normal. We see further back there, Lilian Derbacourt on the back of Lekomsky, and even though he's on a set the heart, he's looking quite strong here on pace at the start of this Grand Prix as we head our way back to turn number 1. And I'm hoping that there wasn't an issue there for Angelo as he pits now to serve his drive-through. He's going to be relying on a safety car in this race, which is very unlikely because I don't think we'll have that many people DNF on circuit as we head our way back down towards turn number 4. Alves is closing in again on the back of Linton, but no move gets made as we see Lekomsky make a move ahead of Otmir to go up into the top 6 as we head our way through to the end of that first sector. But an interesting first couple of laps, Josh, as we do see Leo Lund getting up into P15 there.
Yeah, it is something we will have to keep an eye out for. A couple of those movers, shakers, and you might even say producers towards the back end of the field, getting everything out of their cars possible, of course. Tyre differential will be something we need to keep an eye out for, so we can take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt. The likes of John Evans have fallen down to P5, Yano down to P7. But with that same pinch of salt, you do have to add a little bit of pepper to our likes of Ben Marples, already moving up into P16, showing that wall riding is a real technique. We saw it in NASCAR once. Doesn't mean it's out there. It's not too far out there. It is still viable, especially around a circuit like Las Vegas, where you can have a little bit of a bumper grind on the walls. But with all this happening, we're seeing cars moving left, right, and centre. Nelson Evans making himself a pitch to take the lead of this race. And the Portuguese man is doing exactly that. TES reaching the highest of heights here in E-Series. But something tells me, given the nature of Las Vegas, it won't last for too long. But he can enjoy it while he's there at the moment, because Nicholas Longuet is looking very hungry down in P3 to try and get a little bit more of a move on those hard compound tyres, trying to catch back up to the mediums.
Yeah, a key move there for Debacore, gets ahead of Marcus Soriano. John Evans down to P9. That is certainly not what Ferrari need. Of course, having this championship fight with Race Clutch, they don't want to have one of their drivers behind Lilian Debacore, who's second in the Race Clutch line, as we do see at the front, of course, Reese Linton in second, and Longuet for Ferrari in third place as it stands. This will go through into the final round. I think it will do either way, because Race Clutch are definitely going to have a driver finish in the top 5, and I think they'll easily have both finish in the top 10. But then again, Reese Linton's on a different strategy to many others. He's got to hope that strategy can work, and we know that the strategy, their strategies recently haven't been the best. They've fumbled on many occasions, especially back to Austria when they fumbled a 1-2. They would have probably been in the championship lead by now, so they've got to hope that they can get this strategy right for both of them. As I need to quickly put my Discord on Do Not Disturb as I'm being spammed.
Well, while you do that, we can quickly give you guys a quick rundown of how it's all shaping out. You can see drivers not necessarily looking to battle tooth or nail. They're more than happy to swap positions, understanding that just because they're 3 laps into a 25-lap race, positions don't mean the entire world. We got Moonies as well, also asking, who are these guys? Where's Ron Har and everyone else? As Kryptonite has correctly said, this isn't PCF1, this is better. This is a team event. This is where you've got the official Ferrari, McLaren, Williams, Red Bull, Aston Martin. I'm sure I'm forgetting a team somewhere in there. But
McLaren.
You've got McLaren, that's for one, thank you. Small time. Anyway, you've got all these official teams. You've got all these official drivers for those teams competing, working together. This is the closest we're going to get to F1 sim racing without it actually being F1 sim racing. And for me, that is absolutely brilliant to see. That not only are those teams willing to commit into E-Series, but they're willing to try and brave it against a couple of these community teams, which is exactly what we see Nelson Alves taking the wick for here. With TES going up against a couple of these bigger dogs, the ones where you might be a little bit tedious to try and race against, for Longuets, for Pedrenos, for Lekomskis, the Altmiers, it can be a bit daunting. But this young Portuguese man, he's got absolutely nothing on him. He's looking to get, he's giving it a proper scrap, and I feel like you can only add a little bit of courage to that as well.
I mean, he's doing a brilliant job, isn't he, so far, Nelson Alves here for TES. I think they've took a podium once or twice before here in E-Series, but it's definitely something that's not very common for them at all. So this would be perfect here for Nelson Alves if he can try and take a podium. He will take the lead of the race away from Reese Linton, and Nicholas Longuet will be looking to close in as well to make a move for second place if he can get back ahead of Reese Linton, as well as Pedreño in the background as well, looking to close in and get up into third, but can't find a move past Nicholas Longuet. Further down as well, we do see John Evans a little bit more comfortable now than he was earlier on. Not really suffering too much as he was earlier. He's got Ika Bayena closing in behind. We'll see, can Ika make that move for P9 in the Williams? I don't think he can. He's got to stay in P10 as they head their way to turn 1. As Declan Barrett now up into P15 ahead of Otis Lawrence. It's not been a good race at all here for Declan Barrett. Of course, qualified 13th, now running behind Leo Lund, who started 18th. He's had a brilliant start. Has the Veloce Academy driver, of course. They're fighting for the championship lead in the community standings, so they need to start getting some good results here, as they're only 12 points ahead of TRT, who are sitting in 8th and 20th. So it's going to be close here between Veloce Academy and TRT. But also to mention, TES are currently at the top at the moment. They'll be looking to try and get themselves back into the lead of the 3 community teams, of course. The winner out of the 3 takes £100 away, which is certainly something you'd love to have after such a long season of battling and racing and trying to get yourself as high as you can in the standings. It's a nice reward, isn't it, Josh? It might not be the biggest prize, but it's that, mental reward, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, 100%. And it's very much like, okay, these drivers, these teams, they'll get a reward. We get a reward by being able to commentate on this. What does chat get? They have to deal with us week in, week out to see their favourite drivers race, Nathan. I feel like they deserve something.
Oh, I was just asking me a question. I thought you was asking a rhetorical question.
No. Okay, right, guys, please behave back there. Let's not forget, it's only the first stint of this race. It's not an endurance. You're not expecting 7-8 stints, unless 7-8 safety cars come out. But please just behave. We're 6 laps into this race. What did Lewis say that one time? The guys, remember, it's a sprint. It's not a sprint. What was it? He said something along the lines. It's not
a marathon,
sprint.
not a sprint.
That's the one. Let's remember that one, please, guys. And let's also not just lock up into turn 1 and bin it into the wall like he did as well. But that's besides the point, because our drivers, they're better. They're clear. Lewis Hamilton who? Not on my watch.
I mean, the British fans won't be happy. The Max fans will love to hear that one, though, won't they?
No, mate, honestly, I reckon any fan would love to hear that, because our guys are just massive. They're just built different. Nelson Alves, mate, honestly, put him one-on-one with Lewis. Any game, any car, Nelson's got him. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I'd like to think so, but I don't exactly think that'd be that possible. It'd be nice, though. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see Nelson Alves beat Lewis Hamilton, but I don't think that's a 1v1 we'll ever see.
You never know.
I think, to be fair, my nan's got a high chance of becoming Prime Minister than that happening.
To be quite honest, I don't feel like she'll do a worse job, to be fair, but let's not talk politics. I'll tell you what, while we've got another swap for these positions here, with Nicholas Longane looking to move himself up into P2, have we got any grandparents watching today?
I forgot to tell him, so he probably don't even know it's on.
Oh, bless him. But...
Well, I'll have to tell him tomorrow, and I'll go, Grandad, go back to the video that was streamed one day, because he'll go, I can't see it live.
Oh, dear. And he'll be wondering how you're speaking out of television and standing next to him. As we've got Manaz asking what this conversation is, mate, this is E-Series. We're here for a bit of banter. We're here for a bit of a chinwag.
Ooh,
but of course, we're here to bring a little bit more action because Tycho Hardy's had a beautiful little switcheroo there with Gabriel Quinto. Both of them looking to try and close that distance. We're going to be looking to try and get 2 to 3 tenths behind the car in front before they're really in an operating window. Try and make a move and try and strike, as we see Lillian Derbicourt in that operating window on Yana Watmere, deciding just to back off for a little bit before approaching up to the emoji sphere. Let's not forget that beautiful, horrible, disgusting creation. I genuinely despise it. Why is it smiling? Its eyes look dead inside. It really does.
I don't understand what's going on with Tycho Hardy this race, because he qualified P16, he's now P18, he's at the bottom of the train apart from Gabriel Quintino. This game just isn't Tycho Hardy's game, I don't think. I mean, last game you was thinking this guy's going to be easily top of the development driver list. Now you're thinking he's in the mid of that level. He's not been anywhere near he was on the previous game, which is a shame to say, because I was really expecting Tycho Hardy to go into F1 24 with a bang, but he's not really done that. So hopefully over the next couple of months we can see Tycho Hardy try and work his way back through where he should be on form, as we do see the drivers get close to making moves in towards turn 14, and Hardy up into P12, and just look at that effect of the DRS. Ikebayena, even though we had DRS, lost 2 positions along that straight, and now makes it 3 wide as Otis Lawrence goes through into 14th. We're going nearly 4 wide down towards the final corner. Declan Barrett now up into P14 with Ikebayena into 13th place. The DRS and the ERS proving how easy it is just to lose and gain their positions back again. Declan Barrett was down to P15, got back up into 14th quite easily.
And let's not forget as well, that wasn't them going full beans. That was a little tap of the overtake button. That wasn't them dumping the battery. That wasn't them prepping for that overtake either. It's just one of those things that they're able to do. They're able to toggle at will to be able to get that advantage, to try and make a couple of these overtakes happen, as we are seeing more cars looking to try and duel. We've also got Lillian Derbicourt there, barely hanging it around the outside, trying not to get squeezed into the wall by Simon Lekomsky, but Lekomsky doing exactly what he needed to do in the McLaren Shadow car to keep a race clutch driver behind him for the time being. But we're still in the first stint of this race. I do need to remind everyone, it feels like I'm saying it every lap at this point, but let's not expect these drivers to go completely gung-ho.
Yeah.
Trying to send moves left, right, around the down the inside, around the outside, wherever. They're pacing themselves. So if you feel like it's going to get a little bit feisty, having these 4, 3, 2 wide moments,
Just wait till lap 25.
Just wait. I reckon lap 20 is when it's going to start.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
when the game's going to kick in. Lap 25 is when it's all going to be all hell goes wrong. But Nelstalvez losing a position there down into P2. He won't mind. He just gets a little bit of a free toe now for the remainder of his stint, as long as he stays in P2.
Oh, was Declan Barrett there and Ika Bayana come into contact heading through into turn 14. One of them clattered the wall, which allows Otis Lawrence to head through as Reese Linton into the pit lane. Well, I was noticing earlier on, I was going to mention Jono Otmir made an easy move past, I think it was Lekomsky. Debecour's also got past Lekomsky. I think the medium tyres are starting to die off a little bit more now, and I think the hards are definitely the stronger tyre here. As Debecour's on the back of Pedronio now, looking to get up into P4 on the hard tyres. Linton's gone, done well by going in early, getting himself onto a brand new set of the hard tyres, going to go all the way to the end now. Just hope that undercut is the way to go here in this race. I think because of how strong the DRS is, because he's not going to be losing a second over a lap, he can easily keep in touch with Nicholas Longay at the end and the others who are fighting for the win. So maybe that undercut is that advantage that he's going to need to get to the end and to try and take that win. Because Race Clutch, remember, are only 36 points behind Ferrari going through into this race. So they've got another race next week as well. So they would love to get an advantage. And even if it's one position and it's only a couple of points, that might be that might be the couple of points they need next week in Bahrain.
Absolutely. It all somewhat builds up to that, doesn't it? That little moment where you can sit and think, right, where could this have gone wrong for Ferrari? Where did Ferrari, not make the most of our opportunities? There's plenty of them if you look around, as we are looking towards a battle at the front. We've got a cheeky bit of a bump draft, if I'm not mistaken, there from Jarno on Nicholas Longay to ensure he's able to continue following him here. But with these medium tyres going back in towards the pit lane and the hards seemingly coming a bit more into fruition here, this is where we're going to start seeing the hard compound tyres getting pushed a little bit harder than 3-4 laps ago, because this is where they're looking to try and recover anything gained from those cars on the mediums who could potentially go for an undercut. As Ika Bayana there picks up that 10-second time penalty. Again, another unforced error. We saw one last week as well. It's not looking great.
It's not. And Williams yet again not looking too strong, in the sense that they got a 10-second penalty, which will drop Ika, even if he was in first, probably down to the back, or at least near the back. So certainly not the way that Ika wanted that to go, as he will come out in 20th with a penalty, as we just go on board further back with Gabriel Quintino here, just getting ahead of Ben Marples, of course. Veloce Academy looking to try and maximise what they can ahead of TES, of course. They've got Nelson Alves, who's only 11 seconds behind them on a brand new set at the hards. That shows how much of an advantage he's got over some of those at the back, where normally TS will be fighting. It's brilliant to see them in this position at the front, fighting for a podium and fighting possibly for a win. But now TRT have Angelo there. Angelo's backing them up, heading into turn 12. But Reese knows that heading down to turn 14, you'd rather have that DRS than not have it. So we'll see. Is Angelo here trying to help his teammate possibly while just holding up this lead pack?
He could be, and this could also be a devious play here, which would, of course, in turn help Ferrari and the likes of John Evans as Lillian Debecourt makes the move there on Nicholas Longay back towards the front of the field. Next thing you know, John Evans is back in touch right on the rear of Nicholas Longay. Now they have an opportunity for Ferrari duo to work together in tandem, try and close up that distance and be able to pick off the likes of Lillian and Jarno. Like we mentioned earlier, hopefully for their sake, we're able to keep this going and hopefully play it strong together as track mates, understanding they're both in a position where their teammates aren't available to help them, and they're able to work and bounce off each other to defend off this Ferrari duo, who looks to be terrifyingly quick, as we're seeing even more cars looking to try and get themselves involved in a battle. I said before, start of the stint one, not necessarily looking for an all-out war. It's now getting to the part where they will be looking for an all-out war. They will be looking to scrap left, right, and centre. As Angelo there, he's fallen short there a little bit, hasn't he, on that medium compound tyre, but he's backed up now behind Soriano.
We nearly saw him in the wall there, because Ruben Progenio went for a move up the inside into turn 17 at the final corner at full speed, and Angelo turned in a little bit, and I think there was a slight bit of contact between the two. So Angelo, very lucky there, along with Ruben, not to get into some heavy contact heading out to the final corner. And they will continue on, of course. Angelo moving out the way to let Mirko through and just put Mirko into that DRS train once again to try and help him fight for the lead of the race. As we do see yet again Nicholas Longay looking to gain in here on the back of Lillian Debecourt down towards Turn 14 will be looking to make that move back up into second place, but no, sits behind for now. Knows he's not going to really bother making that move. And we can see, of course, Lillian on the back of Jarno Watme. That leads the race here for Red Bull, but of course still has to pits. And further back there, we've got Philip and Leo going side by side, heading through out of turn 16 and nearly a bit of contact. But I've got to say, Josh, considering that chicane is so tight, how have we seen so many moves there as we do see Nelson Alves make a move ahead of Reece Linton?
It's purely off of that curb, isn't it? That curb. It can cause a car to be a little bit disturbed. You can lose the rear. You can lose a little bit of traction. And then you got those who are able to absolutely ace it lap after lap after lap. Trained, perfected, and, you know, somewhat customized how they run out of that corner to be able to get the most amount of traction. And that gives them the up and under to go side by side to put a little bit more pressure on, heading through those final couple corners, coming out of that chicane, and really capitalise on those moments, which of course in turn gives them a great run all the way down into turn 1. It's all about making sure you size yourself up for the exit of a corner to carry as much speed going down the straight as possible. Very similar to what we see in turn 12, but in this case, it's not just turn 12. It is, of course, that chicane, which all links together. It's all very flowing. It's all very natural. But with that being said, one thing which isn't going to be natural is going to be the abundance of DRS overtakes I'm expecting to see here on this lap.
Of course, and for anyone new here in the chat thinking, well, Philip's out! That's a safety car!
Wow.
Prejnader, Josh, the one you voted for pole position, has DNF'd on lap 12 or 25.
I'm not taking
That's
responsibility.
out of turn 12, so that's got to be contact with someone, surely. You don't DNF on the exit of turn 12 like that.
No, but he is over in that left-hand side.
But that's helped, that's helped Ferrari, heavily.
Yeah, Ferrari being given an absolute lifeline here to be able to keep both their cars running in the same window. But I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, you're not allowed to pit teammates on the same lap.
No, you're not. Oh,
well, this could
no,
be
if Connor can confirm it, I'm sure you wasn't allowed to, but obviously Connor can confirm in the chat, as Ben Marples gets a 10-second penalty as well, under safety car, the least pressure, and he speeds over in towards the pit lane. And I'm also sorry there to Trent for causing you a jump scare, but even I got a bit of a jump scare from seeing someone in the wall and the yellow flag pop up. But what I was going to say, Josh, before this all happened was, for anyone new watching here thinking, well, who have we got to keep an eye on here for the championship? Realistically, the full red cars. Lillian and Reese are in one team. Nico and John are in a different team. They're fighting for the championship. Ferrari lead by 36 points. And they're going to go hell to leather. That's all you need to know. Everyone else can have their own little battles. But Race Coach and Ferrari, the last couple of laps, if they stick together, this could be possibly one of the most confusing, most contact-heavy endings we might have seen in E-Series ever, because they're going to fight for the championship very hard.
Yeah, but at the same time, let's not wish that stuff, right? Because for all we know, everyone's just going to be very, very, very nice, very well behaved. As we do have another 10-second time penalty there, but we are having a little bit of a dispute here. Of course, we've got Will Witcher in the YouTube chat saying you're allowed to do it under green flag. You're not allowed to do it under green flag, that being double stack. But under a yellow or safety car, you're able to pit a double stack. Yeah. While we've also got Tyus over in the manager's chat saying double stack with both cars. What a game!
Oh, they managed to double. Oh, they got. Both their cars got double stacked in the pits. Ah, that is.
And again, rough.
Big shame. And if it was Tyus who said that, are you on about Tyus from Tees from Aston? That's why the 13th and 14th then.
And again, it all somewhat makes sense, doesn't it? Again, it's another unfortunate tale to be told, but unfortunately, it's the best we could do with this game. But again, drivers who won't be complaining: Jarno, Lydian, Nicholas, Reese, maybe even John at this point. Drivers who will complain: Nelson Alves, TES. This is absolute heartbreak once again for the TES team.
But then again, Josh, he's only got 3-lap-old hards. Give it a few laps, the mediums will also start to die off. So I don't think it's as bad as it initially looks, considering we've still got 11 laps to go. The safety car probably, well, it will definitely go in this lap around once everyone else catches up. But you know, it's gonna be an interesting one. But I think the hard tyres are gonna have a bad couple of laps. But once they get into the swing of things, I think they'll be fine. But with the DRS being so strong, I don't think it matters really what tyre you're on at this point, because that DRS advantage down the straight is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we saw it a couple of times where a couple of people have been overtaken by 3 cars. They're not even fighting properly for the lead yet. So never mind until the last lap, lap 25, when they all head down there, probably about a second between 10 cars.
Oh, it's all building up, isn't it? And I cannot wait to see what's going to happen when the safety car goes back into the pit lane. But for those of you watching over on Twitch, for the 27 lovely people on Twitch, and of course the 612 people here on YouTube, I want to hear some predictions. Everyone's made the mandatory pit stop at this point. Who's winning the race? Because it's very much an open book at this point. Nathan, I'm going to ask you the exact same question. You put me on the spot with qualifying. It's my turn now.
Who's going to win?
Who's going to win?
Oh,
All the stops being made.
You know what? Well, do I stick with race clutch and go for the other one, or do I stick with the man that has impressed everyone tonight and go with Nelson Alves? I think I'm going to go with Nelson. I think he's got it in him. Nelson Alves. The Portuguese fan base will love me if he wins, so there we are. Nelson Alves for the win. Josh, what about you?
Absolutely. In chat, I'm going to read out first.
Ooh, Rock me.
Longier, Pogmere, Jarno, Gostmere, Jarno, Opmere, John Evans, of course, Opmere, Angelo Win, Jarno Longe, Longe, Let's Go Ferrari, Olmert, Opmere on top, lol. I feel purely out of all of that, and purely because he's been shown absolutely no love.
Ghostmere.
John Evans.
Oh.
Oh, dear me. Honestly, creative names you guys come up with absolutely blows me away. We've got Simeon there as well.
Ooh.
But is it just me, or is that safety car going around for another lap?
For some reason it is, and that's because Ben Marples is so far back.
I'll tell you what.
So we go again. We'll go in lap 15, so we'll have 9 laps of racing.
At this point,
Not 10.
surely, if you're on that hard compound tyre, you would just consider maybe going over to a set of...
Is he
soft
pitting again?
tyre.
He's pitting again.
You just consider it. I wouldn't blame him.
Oh, he wants to remove his penalties. You can remove the 10 seconds. That's why he keeps going in.
Cheeky muppet, isn't he? But let's all have a little bit. Okay, I've been told not to make fun of anyone's spelling. I apologise. Yeah, you'll blame Nathan Richards for that one. Terrible person. But yeah, as Keely says as well in chat, this extra lap will help the medium tyres. It certainly will. It'll give them another lap where they're not being put under too much strain. They're able to relax a little bit.
Exactly.
They're able to somewhat bed themselves back in, because of course we know what the tyres can be like in this year's game. If you don't prep them properly, they will come back and bite you. It's part of the reason why qualifying has been so difficult. And not necessarily being, fluid and flush for a lot of the drivers who have been able to be rapid on previous iterations of the game. They've come over to this one where you need to do a little bit more tyre prep. You can't just drag your brakes. And they've seemingly struggled. And it's not just been them. There's been many drivers across the board who have seemingly struggled. But given this safety car a little bit of time to weave the tyres, to prep them up a little bit more, it's looking solid for them. It's looking like they've got themselves a window of opportunity here where they might be able to really excel and be able to pull the most out of those tyres. I suppose you could say the same with the hards.
Definitely. I mean, going to the end of this, the tyres won't matter. The first couple of laps they will, but if you can stick yourself in around, in the position you're in, if you can stay there, you should be fine by the end of the stint. I mean, Reece Hinton's in a good position because the cars behind him, the two of them, are also on the same tyres. So that can also help him have a bit of security from those on the mediums for a couple of laps. But I think the only one here that will really struggle is Mirko, because everyone behind him is on a medium. The others have got someone behind them that's on the hards that can, of course, try and defend and block the others making the pass. But the safety car will be in this lap. Jarno Opmere will lead the way ahead of Lilian Debacle for Race Clutch, and then Nelson Alves for TES in third. But one thing the cars have got to make sure they don't do is hit each other, because if they make the slightest contact, sometimes you can get a 10-second penalty for the fun of it. As we do see, Ika there, being passed by Gabriel. Those two having a bit of a swap-a-rooney there.
Well, with that being said, Jarno's put his foot to the floor and he's decided to bolt as soon as he possibly could. Nicholas Longe being very wise to it, following in absolute tandem with whenever Jarno went, and also gets that move down into turn 1 on Nelson Alves. Nelson Alves on that hard compound tyre, not being able to make himself too much of a problem. But Gabriel Quinto picking up a 10-second time penalty for ignoring yellow flags, which would quite often mean under a safety car restart, he overtook someone before the start-finish straight. Well, start-finish line.
As we see Leo Lund here looking to make a move around the outside into turn 4. Around the outside goes Leo Lund. Klaffenbach's going to defend it, but I think he might have got that move done, and if he can, that was a brilliant move there by Leo Lund. But Julian will try and fight it back as they head their way through in towards the end of the chicane into turn 9, and Julian gets that position back. A brilliant battle there between Lund and Klaffenbach for 10th place, but for now it will be the R8G that has that top 10 position. But Leo Lund will be fighting as hard as he can for the next couple of laps, as we see as well Declan Barrett here looking to make a move ahead of Jan Halliday. Behind him, Otis Lawrence. These two, Smokey and FRA Elite back in their day, looking to battle once again here with Red Bull and Aston Martin as we head our way down towards turn number 16. Turn number 14 as Lillian Derbicourt is having a drag race with Otmir down towards the chicane, and Lillian does take the lead of the race here in Las Vegas, as we do see further behind Lukomsky making a move ahead of Pedreño as we head into turn 14. So one McLaren out and the other McLaren in the top 6.
Absolutely, and again, it will just be one of those problems where they will have to realise they've got one hand tied behind the back. You could, again, say the same thing about Williams, currently up there in P7. They're going to have to somewhat work together in a rough space to be able to make sure that, again, the likes of Race Clutch and Ferrari, they're not going to fall accustomed to that double-up trick where you can get boxed into corners. You can, somewhat be forced to hold positions and lose positions depending on what they decide around you. But given there's a little bit of a split between the two Race Clutch cars, between the two Ferrari cars, it's...
Oh! Big contact!
Oh dear, is that Leo?
It is. Leo Lund. There was a 3-wide moment there into turn 4 or turn 5, and he got clattered into the side of, and unfortunately has damage. I'm sorry to cut you off there, Josh, but that caught me quite off guard.
No, absolutely fine. Don't worry about it, because let's be quite honest here. With 8 laps of racing remaining, the last thing anyone wants is to get caught up in a collision, lose a front end plate, lose maybe even an entire front wing, because you're looking at that point, your race is gone. You've basically ruined any opportunity you've got. The next thing you don't want is, as Jan Halliday politely demonstrates for us, is a 3-second time penalty. Safety cars come out, everyone's all bunched up together. Get a 3-second time penalty, you're losing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 positions. And that's only on lap 17. This is before DRS chicken starts.
Of course, so I'll just wash your notice, Lawrence there. The advantage you get in a straight is ridiculous. Just flies past Declan Barrett. Tiger Hardy ends up losing the 1 second because of it. Leo Lund looking to fight back with him, as we do see Jarno Otmir take the lead of the Grand Prix. Heading on to lap 17 of 25. Derbicourt in second, Longe still in 3rd place. But Race Clutch have got an advantage here because John Evans is stuck in P8, can't find any moves, and he's stuck here behind Ruben Pedreño. Reece Hinton's in 5th, and Lillian Derbicourt is in 2nd place, right on the back of Jarno Otmir. So this fight into the final round might be a lot bigger than we actually think between Race Clutch and Nicolas Longe. And for anyone that doesn't know, Race Clutch aren't really an esports team anymore because Alpine have parted ways from them about a few months ago. So they're really a community team fighting with some of the big dogs and probably the best constructor as of recent, and statistically the best in F1 sim racing.
Yeah, and that is a huge statement, right? They came, they ended up having a fallout with Alpine. The parted ways, Alpine went with G2. And you sit there and you look at a couple of the PCF1 results, they've not really had too much to show for them. And you come over to E-Series and you look at what Race Clutch has been able to do, and it's been by far and away absolutely fantastic. There's somewhat resurgence and bounce back we've been able to have to still battle out against the Ferraris, against, this Red Bull team, which has joined E-Series here for the first time as well. Everything is all seemingly coming together for them. They're really showing to be a very strong unit and work together very, very well. As Lillian, very late on the brakes, has a little snatch there, but gets that position. And again, so many other cars looking just to try and wiggle themselves up a couple extra positions. Longe currently sitting in P3. I'm sure he's going to be looking to breathe down the neck of Jarno Otmir in P2. With that being said, more moves out towards the back. Very late moves there between Mirko and Julian. But you would expect Julian on that fresh and medium tire to be able to dance it around the outside, which will swing back to the inside there for turn 2. And turn 3, of course, as Julian moves himself up there into P9. Next car on the chopping block will be the Ferrari of John Evans.
Of course, and we'll see if Klaffenbach can make the move, and he goes for it, had to back out, and gets tapped there as Jan Halliday makes a move ahead of Mirko Soriano. Jan Halliday on a flyer so far here as we head our way in towards the chicane, and Jan gets clattered into the wall, I think locked up a little bit into there. Gets to move ahead of Mirko. Mirko will have the inside into turn 9, sends it, bit of contact, they'll lose time, and that now allows Otis Lawrence to try and close in and make a move for P11. Lots of contact here between the Aston Martins and the TRT of Mirko Soriano as we head our way down to turn 12, and John Evans looking to go up the inside here of Ruben Pedreño. Ruben has to back out, tries to get a better exit, but John Evans has that covered and gets a move and goes up into P7, unless those behind can try and fight to get past him once again as we head our way down towards turn 14. But look at the gap this time that Lillian has. It's a decent gap back to Jarno Opmeer as we head our way in towards 14. Can Nicolas Longe make a move ahead to the Flying Dutchman? No, he can't. He'll stick in P2 for now. Further back as we see yet again Lawrence looking to make moves. This time he gets ahead of Mirko Soriano and goes up into P11. And now puts Aston Martin right on the fringe of a double top 10 finish here, as we do see Lukomsky right on the rear of Rieslington here for P5.
Absolutely, and this is where it's going to start heating up. With 5 racing laps to go, this is where we're going to see a couple of drivers starting to play a couple more mental games with those around them. Whether that's going to be braking on corner exits, hopefully not. Braking a little bit earlier to try and give someone else DRS coming out of a corner. Again, these sort of, nonchalant things where you might not necessarily think too far ahead or be able to immediately pick up on. These drivers are sitting there thinking 3, 4, 5 corners ahead to try and anticipate what the drivers around them are going to do to figure out a counterplay to it, and it can very much either make you look like you're having a stroke of genius, an absolute masterclass to already foresee what other people are doing, or you could very much end up with egg on your face. For example, if Lillian was to back out around here to try and give Jarno the DRS, try and give Jarno the lead, to pick up DRS later down the straight. All it takes is 1 or 2 people extra to get involved, like Nicolas Longe, Nelson Alves to make a move. Next thing you know, you're losing 3, 4, 5 positions.
Of course, a big shame there for Ruben. Both of, Ika doesn't longer have his penalty, but of course he had to serve the pit stop to get rid of it. But Ruben also has a penalty now, which is a big shame here for Ruben Pedreño and Williams once again, as we do see Opmeer take the lead ahead of Dervacourt, ahead of Longe, and Nelson Alves, who still sits there close behind. We knew that once these hards got settled in, they didn't really need to worry about those being on a set of the mediums, as actually the hards and mediums might not be that different in terms of tyre wear and the pace I got, because the mediums drop off a lot quicker, of course, with them being a softer compound, as we see into turn 1. Lukomsky on the back of Linton. Linton has to try and defend it around the outside. It'll give him the inside at turn number 3. And will we see a move by the McLaren? It's going to be close, and I don't think he can get... No, he can't. He actually taps the wall, I think, heading through into turn 4. That will give Rieslington back into that top 5. But we do see further behind as well, Klavenbach is looking to make a move on Evans, but can't quite find it into turn 4 further back as well. Pedreño going to be looking to defend here from Lawrence, who goes around the outside and easily makes that move for P9 in the Aston Martin. But Pedreño will fight it into the chicane. But no, nothing he can do against Otis Lawrence there. I think Ruben might have a bit of damage as well, as he definitely doesn't look like he's on the top pace that he should be, as we head our way back down to turn 12 once again. And the good thing is, notice who's ever in the lead, whether it's Opmeer or Dervacourt, they always pull a big gap in that middle sector, as we do see Longe closing very heavily into turn 12.
Yeah, and, having a little look on board with both Jarno, Lillian, Longe, it's not down to battery. All of them still sitting on full battery. They're waiting for that opportunity to deploy it, to get those moves sorted, to try and get a couple extra positions left, right, and centre. As we see Nicolas Longe here looking to get very close up behind Lillian Dervacourt. Now, this is where a couple of the games are going to start being played. Why didn't Longe want to go for that move? Is he thinking about potentially getting a double toe, forcing Lillian to go for a move on Jarno? As again, it's all very close heading for that final chicane. I feel like it's only going to be a matter of time before we end up seeing an accident through there with cars going 2, 3, 4 wide, as we do see John Evans here battling it out with Simeon Lukomsky. Lukomsky's got that inside line, but for how much longer? Late on the brakes there. John Evans trying to tiptoe his way around the outside on that medium compound tyre. Slightly losing the rear. Lukomsky still dancing around there in the McLaren shadow car. Take me back so many years. McLaren versus Ferrari, and it's all going to come down to a drag race here, heading down into the next braking zone, as we do see Nicolas Longe finally make that move on Lillian Dervacourt just in front. Everything seems to be kicking off at the moment, with Julian Klavenbach now dancing his way around the outside of Simeon Lukomsky. It feels like it's dancing on ice over here at the minute.
It certainly does, as we see Linton here on the back of Nelson Alves. Surely you'd be, surely if you're Reece Linton, you'd be thinking about trying to get ahead of Nelson to put yourself into that top four, considering TES aren't really a factor in the championship. You'd be thinking, really, you'd want to get that move done ASAP as we head our way down towards turn number 12 once again. And Jarno Otmir is still in the lead of the Grand Prix, ahead of Nicholas Longuet now and Lillian in third, with Nelson Alves in fourth place as we head our way back down towards turn 14. But we got second and sixth for Ferrari, third and fifth here for Race Clutch. I think Ferrari might have a bit of an advantage as the way it goes in the championship with how close the positions are, though, as we head down towards turn 14. Longate looks to the inside. Of course, that stops Lillian Debacle from making a move. And Nelson Alves also squashing. He can't also make a move ahead either. He's stuck in fourth. But two drivers who are looking to close in now and make advantage of this are Linton and Evans. They're looking to close in and possibly try and benefit off some of this holding up that those at the front are doing. I think it's not really Jarno Otmir's fault because he hasn't got the top speed to carry into it, but Nicholas Longuet and Lillian Debacle want to back off so they can have that DRS going on to the final couple of laps. We hit 23 now, lap 23, 25, 2 laps to go, and this is going to be a big battle to the end. Remember, Race Clutch want to finish ahead of Ferrari if they want to take the championship fight to the final round. Ferrari want to try and finish ahead of Race Clutch to extend that championship lead going into Bahrain.
Absolutely, and with that all being said, I don't think it necessarily matters what Jarno does here. If he backs off and tries to let the likes of Nicholas and Lillian overtake, they'll just back off too. It's a very interesting and unfun scenario to be in if you're up there at the moment, because no matter what you seem to do, everyone's going to somewhat try and leave you and abandon you to go and take the race lead, to let you, be that, punching bag. To really break the wind in front, to give that slipstream to the cars behind, to give the DRS. And it's not in a position he wants to be in either. He's going to be looking to try and let Nicholas pass, to let Lillian pass. When it comes to lap 24, lap 25, he will get the benefit of the DRS and the RS as well. Maybe that's a reason why we're seeing that 6-tenth gap open up, because that way Nicholas knows that without Jarno lifting, he's able to comfortably use all of his DRS, a little bit of his battery to keep Lillian behind, but not be vulnerable to overtake. And that's such a strange sentence to say in sim racing.
As we head our way back down to turn 1, we do see Lawrence on the inside of Klaffenbach in towards the final corner. That's a brilliant move there from Otis Lawrence, looking to get up into P7. Has to send it up the inside, but Julian brakes later and gets himself back into that P7 position. And Lawrence will try and send it up the inside, but can't quite do so. Pushes Julian Klaffenbach through that section as they head down to turn 4. Further ahead, though, we do see Lillian Debacle on the rear of Nicholas Longuet. Of course, these two in that battle for the championship with Nelson Alves, looking to try and take a podium here for TES, and it would be one of the first top 5s this season. And I think maybe only their third podium or second podium here in E-Series in the last 3 seasons. So certainly TES are going to be fighting hard for this position, as we do see Jan Harde there looking to be under pressure here from Angelo D'Ortenzio. He had a drive-through on lap 1. He's now looking to fight for the top 10. Because of the penalty, even if he finishes 11th, he's still going to be in the top 10. Now that is an admirable performance there from Angelo D'Ortenzio.
Absolutely. Yeah, again, another very solid performance from Angelo. He's really been one of the standout drivers, I think, so far throughout this season. But then again, you could say that about many drivers, especially Nelson Alves, getting a move sorted on Lillian Debacle, and now looking to try and maybe put up a little bit of a scrap here, dancing around the outside. Nicholas Longuet went a little bit too early on the brakes, a free wide moment.
Oh,
he's going to get squeezed, a little pinch there as well.
Oh!
These rounds!
And Evans! The two Ferraris get into contact! Oh my goodness! And now the carnage begins. Otmir has got a 2-second lead. Reece Linton is ahead of the train. Oh my god, Josh, this is going to be an ending I don't think anyone will forget us. Oh, that's Klaffenbach into the wall!
Oh no, it's all happening. Lap 25, the cursed lap cars left, right, and centre getting caught up in debris. While we say that, drivers are making moves. You've got Otis now, P5, Jan P6, both of them squabbling, trying to get more positions. 1 lap ago, they were sitting on the cusp of the top 10. Now Otis on for a potential podium here.
This is absolutely insane. as we see, of course, Angelo as well in P7. He started with that jump start. Of course, Oti started at the back of the field. Lillian Debacor's in the mix as well, with Jan Halliday, who's got a penalty. As we head our way down to turn 12, we'll see the carnage unfold. Linton will back off. He wants to lose that DRS, but no, he continues on. He knows that he's not going to let anyone get... He knows that no one's going to pass him, so he just goes for it. Down towards turn 14. Otmir's got a 2-second lead. He should win the Grand Prix. But now it's down to Nelson Alves to try and take a second place. Otis Lawrence as well looking to try and take a third. But Lillian as well looking to charge down to turn 14 on the final lap to try and take a podium here in the E-Series. Rieslo still keeps that second place. Alves has to send it late on the brakes in towards turn 14. He goes deep. That's going to knock up his exit. Heading out to turn 16. Down towards the final corner. We look at Jan Otmir. He'll take victory. But we have a brilliant battle for second place. Here comes Jan Halliday around the outside. And who will take second place? Halliday on track, but he drops down to a penalty. And Angelo is on the podium out to the final corner. Josh, what was that? Last lap. Oh my. Look at the gap between second and sixth. That's 0.3 of a second.
It's a joke. That's what it is, Nathan, my friend. It's an absolute joke. And Ferrari must be feeling a level of heartbreak. I'm sure they're probably familiar with at this point because they're Ferrari, but absolute huge. That has not only financial implications on, you know, this championship, but as a whole, I'm lost for words. I cannot explain how much that will affect their mental. Not only having one of your cars get caught up in an instant, but then taking out the other car as well. That is ridiculous.
I mean, they finished P15 and P16. Now, Josh, I'm not sure if they have the lead of the championship here.
I don't think they do.
I think it's going to be, it's either on the cusp or I think Race Clutch might be ahead because you get 28 points for second. You'll get around 15 for sixth. That'll put them on a 40-point score this race. Ferrari, maybe 10, 15 points.
I genuinely don't even think they'll be in the lead anymore.
If someone can work out quickly how much they both scored, that'd really help us when we discuss with any of the others in the interview room. But I'm going to say, driver of the day for me, Angelo D'Ortenzio.
It's got to
without
be.
a doubt.
I mean, don't get...
P11, dropped to P20, was 15 seconds back. Safety car came out, he was still last. P3, podium.
I think at the same time as well, we've got to give credit where credit's due. Otis Lawrence kept his nose clean. Again, another young gun showing he's got, you know, a wise head on young shoulders, going from P19 to P5 after all that commotion as well. Again, very, very solid stuff. But you've got to sit there and you've got to think about, you know, Race Clutch had their fumble around Kota. This is by no fault of Ferrari, but again, it is still a bit of a fumble. They are losing points from a potential 1-2, which they were on the cards for at one point. Again, this is all going completely out of the water, especially now we've got Bahrain as the final round of the season. It's looming strong for next week.
Was Reese on the podium? He was, wasn't he?
Yes.
Well, we'll pretend he is. We're going to just ask him for an interview. Longa showing his frustrations, which I would also do if I was in that position. But hopefully we'll see if we can get any of them in for an interview. But that final lap there, I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. It's not good in the sense of the game. It's not good for the drivers. But the action at that moment, it's superb. Seeing who's going to come out in the second position. I mean, you know, we've got to hate it for the fact of how arcadey it is, but you can't help but love it in the moment. You know, we've got 6-7 cars battling. We moan about the game, but that is, it might not be racing, it might be this. You can moan all you want, but it's a brilliant feeling watching that, I've got to say.
It very much, it feels like WWE, doesn't it? You know, it's partially scripted because it's supposed to go that way. But if you can still find enjoyment over it, by all means, enjoy it. You know, there will be some people out there, purists like myself, who don't necessarily find it too enjoyable, understanding that it's all going to go down to the last lap. It'll be a whole, you know, squabble fest. Everyone's going to get upset. Everyone's going to shout at each other because everything goes wrong. But at the same time, when it does, you know, produce those entertaining moments, it is fantastic to watch. It is fantastic to be a part of. Understanding that it isn't the purest form of racing by any means necessary, but it is still something you can sit and watch and enjoy in the moment. It's special, but maybe not for the right reasons.
Yeah, definitely. I've got to agree there. I mean, I'm looking in the chat here, and I mean, Nicholas Longa reminds me of prime Michael Schumacher in a Ferrari. Doesn't go his way. Understandably, he's angry. and of course having a bit of a moan. But I can't really moan at him for it. You know, I'd be the same. I mean, the words that come out of my mouth would be very wrong as well. But we're going to drag Reese Linton in for a quick interview as we bring ourselves over. Reese, welcome in. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Perfect. So welcome in. Thanks for joining us here for an interview. I mean, this race absolutely chaotic. I mean, qualifying same as always. People were all over the place. But going into that race, of course, you went for a bit of a different strategy. Of course, I think only 7 of you went for a set of the mediums. What was your thoughts of going on the medium rather than the common hard tyre?
Well, I thought more people would do medium hard. So that's why I went for it. And we also wanted to split strategies. So I went on mediums and then Lillian go hard in case of the safety car, which did happen. So we were fine in either way.
Of course, and obviously going through into that final lap, we'd expect everyone to back off. Of course, we had that whole collision with the 2 Ferraris, and I think it was Lillian at the time, Nelson. But obviously, going on to that final lap, turn 12, normally you'd expect everyone to lift off. But how did you manage to keep that second position, even though you didn't have any DRS there in that whole straight?
Well, I don't know. I think I got quite lucky, but I didn't want to play DRS games because I've seen what's happened, and it's just a bit not great. So I just wanted to go, and luckily it worked out in the end. So.
Definitely. And I mean, with you in second, Lillian in P6, obviously, if there's any other stewards inquiries, we'll see what happens. But I presume now you'll be right on the cusp of being in the lead of the championship. If not, you might be in the lead. So going into the final round in Bahrain, obviously, we don't know who's driving yet, but do you think Race Clutch are going to be fully prepared to try and take that E-Series championship?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been pretty good all season, so I don't see why we wouldn't be able to win it. So we'll put in the work and try and win it.
I mean, and compared to some of the teams you've been fighting against, obviously in that top 6, all the other esports teams, of course, used to be associated with Alpine, but that's broken away now. A lot of your drivers also aren't partaking in the esports championship. What do you think has been like the speciality that has helped you guys do so well when realistically, on paper, you should be in around 6th place?
I don't know. I think we've just been very motivated for E-Series, and we've just been very quick and had great strategies, been good in the race, good racecraft. So I think it's just been keeping it clean, but also preparing a fair bit.
Definitely. Well, that's all from me. So congratulations on second and good luck for next week. Anything from you, Josh?
Absolutely. You know I've got to ask it. Reese, are you winning the championship next week?
I would say yes. I would say yes.
There we go. Fighting talk. We'd love to see it, Reese. You heard it here first. Reese Linton, he can tell the future. He's winning the championship next week with Race Clutch.
Well, we'll see. So, Reese, mate, thank you for joining us. I think this is the first time I've actually seen you in an interview room. So, thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Right, have a good one, mate.
Yeah, you too.
Bye. Right, there we are. Nice to have a chat with Reese Linton. And like I said, it was the first time I've actually spoke to him in an interview room. So, it's good to see him here, of course. Said he'd happy. Said he'd monotone like all British men do.
Yes, but confident.
Seems ready for next week, Josh.
He's so confident. There wasn't any, we'll see how it goes, or any of that tomfoolery. Nah, he believes in himself. He believes in the team. It's clear. They're motivated. He said it himself. They're hungry. Yeah. This is an opportunity for them to be able to take, this new leaf, this new branch, and build what they want onto it. There's no stigma around it anymore. They can go and control what they want to do. And I feel like that little bit of extra freedom, they are thoroughly loving it. You can see by the results. They're making results happen. They're showing themselves what they're really, truly capable of without any sort of, backseat in politics, no hindrance. They're here to race and they're here to compete. And they have done so well throughout this season. And I couldn't be happier this is going to be going down to the wire.
Right, Josh.
Yes.
I've added up the results for this. And I just want to quickly confirm what it is.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Don't tell.
The gap for 1 point.
Okay, right.
Race Clutch will lead by 1 point to Ferrari going into Bahrain next week. So, guys, if you're just tuning in now, or before you leave, make sure to come back next Friday because we've got a championship fight between Race Clutch and Ferrari. That's going to be, I think, 330-ish points. And the other one's going to be 1 point behind.
And if I'm not mistaken as well, I do believe Red Bull would still be in the fight as well. Outside chance.
I think they are with Otmir, yeah.
But
I think it's going to be close.
Because Otmir got the win, I think they'll be up there as well.
I think the gap's going to be about 30 for Red Bull because Jarno at me took 35 away. Declan Barrett was P11, so he'll take about 10. They'll score 45. It's going to be about 15, 20 points for Red Bull as well. So we're going to have three teams, Red Bull, Ferrari, Race Clutch, 30 points max separated going through into Bahrain, of course, without steward inquiries. Once we have the steward inquiries come through, I'll make sure we get them on Twitter straight away because I want to see what's going to happen. Josh wants to see what's going to happen. And of course, you guys want to see what's going to happen with that. But I think that's all we have for tonight.
Yes.
I mean, we got chaos. We expected chaos. Race Clutch and Ferrari separated by 1 point going into Bahrain for round 10, the finale. The winner takes £475. The second place takes £275. So you get a big advantage by having the first place prize than the second. But it's not about money at this level,
Prestige,
especially for Ferrari and Race
pride.
Clutch. They're both organisations. They both have enough money. We know that. But it's about having that pride, the mental reward of winning a championship over 10 rounds, over 10 weeks, and coming away with it all. But Josh, I can't wait. You can't wait. Now, this is the question where we have to try not to curse them, but who's going to win it next week, Josh? Who's the team that's going to win the championship?
I'm going to have to stay true to my boys. I'm going to have to say Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing. Outside chance, I know, but you got to think if they decide to put all their eggs into the basket with Freddie and Jarno working together, I can see them getting a 1-2, and I can see them gaining so many points on the competition. But again, that's if everything's in their control. And one thing we've learned, especially with tonight, not every race can be in your control.
Definitely, and I mean, Race Clutch looks strong, but I think if they can bring back Lenny Papinta, puts them into such a strong position. Imagine this: Reese and Lenny, Nico, Barry, Jarno, Freddie. Imagine that. Nothing. Obviously, I'm not saying that they are because it can be completely different. But if those six battled for it, we're going to have a brilliant championship battle. I'm going to say for the championship, I don't know what to tell him it, but I've said it all season.
There we go.
And I'm going to go with Race Clutch because every time I predicted them to do well, they've done it. And I'm going to stick with that. The commentator's curse on Race, which doesn't exist. I said that he was going to get pole and win. He didn't. No, he got pole, but he didn't win. I said Reese was going to get a podium and P2, which he did. So it's looking like it's going to be possible. So I'm going to go with Race Clutch. Josh goes with Red Bull. Guys, we'll be back next week for more action here on PSGL Series, where we see who takes the championship. A long 9 weeks going into the 10th. Bahrain is the ending, normally where it starts, but it will be the end of the championship to see who takes home the £475. But guys, thank you yet again for joining us. We've had over 600 of you in the live chat today. Of course, a big thank you to you all for watching the action here around Las Vegas. But that's all from us for now. We'll be back next week for the action. And obviously make sure to keep up to date with the Monday tiers, the Wednesday and the Thursday tiers before coming back to us
Yes.
for the E-Series action. So guys, thank you yet again, and we'll be back then. Good night.